Hello, everyone. Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in Naruto with the 10 Shadows Technique, Part 2. If you enjoy this content, please smash the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description. I hope you enjoy listening to it.
Evening time. 4 months following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. In an underground training ground, a hush prevails, only disturbed by the melody of action. A young boy, his face earnest and covered in sweat, diligently practices a series of katas. His strikes find their mark on a training dummy with unwavering precision, each punch and kick a testament to his unwavering commitment. To his left, an older man with hair as white as snow sits on a chair. His gaze, sharp as a hawk's, remains locked on the boy's every move. He observes with sharp eyes, offering critiques with the precision of a skilled craftsman, pointing out each of the boy's mistakes. Frustration bubbles beneath the surface of the young boy as his mentor's comments continue to break his concentration and irritate him. Behind the older man is a table filled with vials of differing colors containing concerning-looking liquids that are presumably unsafe for consumption. But what truly grabs attention is the astounding sight to the boy's right. Here, 2 magnificent wolves and a toad engage in their own training routine. Their target, a sturdier and more robust dummy, bears the brunt of their combined assault. The toad, with impressive strength, flings the dummy around with its tongue, while the wolves leap with natural grace, delivering potent strikes and fierce maulings. This peculiar scene might seem unusual, but for our protagonist, Akira Noro, it's a familiar ritual, an event that unfolds every Thursday and Saturday without fail. Much to his conflicted emotions. Akira POV. You know, after my delightful first impressions of Eiichi, I was skeptical of returning here. Really skeptical, but then again, I of course thought better of it since this was my only chance at getting special and professional training this early in my prospective shinobi career. After fuming about my broken arms, insulted ego, and missing my chance at fishing as a result of my first training session with Eiichi, Uncle felt the full brunt of my wrath. Cussing at him like I'm a Noichi as well as stabbing holes in his pillow while he was away might seem petty, but it garnered me an additional week of kitchen duty courtesy of Auntie witnessing my colorful language. So I believe it was fair game. And he really deserved it for not warning me about this kind and gentle elder of mine, whom I've decided to accept as a sensei, determined to come here every Thursday and Saturday as he demanded of me at our first meeting. The thought of skipping training did cross my mind, and I was pretty curious about what the consequences would be of just not coming here as instructed. I decided not to test the patience of an allegedly grumpy old man who has probably murdered 100 men or more in his lifetime. Speak of the devil. Boy, quit daydreaming. Your strikes are losing their precision. That kick was aimed too low. Eiichi chastises stoically, his voice betraying no emotion but annoyance. The feelings are mutual. Pal. Sorry, Eiichi-sensei. I grumble reluctantly as I put more brainpower into my rigid and consistent movements that I've been practicing. Anyhow, this kind and gentle elder is a relentless slave driver. The no breaks, the brutal dissecting of my mistakes, and the intensive training. This has to be illegal. I don't care what kind of superpowered mercenary village I'm at. This shit's got to be illegal. Regardless. I push through because that's what I have to do. On that note, of course, this training has proven to be very fruitful. I actually have a decent idea of how to fight. Though, according to my wise sensei, I'm still pathetic and weak. Understandable, but you could relay that information in a more gentle way, you know? Luckily, he has not forced me to try and tame another Shikigami yet. Satisfied with my own results during our meeting, he still kept me hanging about the meaning behind his whole first brutal dissection of my character with his creepy observations. I've got a few theories on what he was trying to convey, but I prefer to not ask him about it when he doesn't seem intent on telling me. Would I like his answer? I still don't know. And I'm fine with not knowing. Nevertheless, what I've concluded for myself is that I need to grow some balls. Or at least try to. It's about time. Eiichi-sensei. My chakra's running low. I'm dismissing them. I stop my practice as I shout at Sensei, turning to look at him for his response. He nods his agreement as I proceed to practice katas on the poor dummy. Good work. Knock, Mir, and Jeff. Sire later. I wave goodbye to my Shikigami, dismissing them. Yes, I named Toad, Jeff. I found it hilarious, and out of all my Shikigami, he's the goofiest. Not that I have more than 3 Shikigami, but you get the point. On that note, let me list a few fascinating discoveries I've made with Shikamaru and Eiichi-sensei's help in regard to the 10 shadows. First, the chakra cost of maintaining Jeff or Toad. The cost is fascinatingly less costly than summoning Mir and Nock. From the feeling and sense of my chakra capacity, it's around 35% less costly to initially summon and a whopping 40% less maintenance. It does make sense since it's individually weaker than Mir or Nock, as well as being more of a support-type Shikigami. Secondly, having both the Divine Dogs and Toad summoned does this interesting thing. The cumulative chakra cost of keeping them manifested is less than adding up their individual chakra costs of being manifested. I'll elaborate. Let's say the cost to maintain Nock and Mir is 100 chakra per minute. Toad's would logically be 60 chakra per minute, as I've mentioned the relative cost. Then keeping them both maintained for a minute would cost me 160 chakra. Right? Wrong. It would cost around 140 to 145 chakra or so, as I feel it. What is interesting is that the individual chakra maintenance I feel from the Divine Dogs remains at a seemingly static 100 chakra, whilst Toad's was reduced from 60 to 40-45-ish. Strange, right? So I was brainstorming on my own since Shikamaru doesn't really know much math yet on the proportions of it, but couldn't really reach a conclusion. Upon giving up on finding a solution on my own, I questioned Shikamaru on his opinion. He told me it'd probably be impossible to reach a conclusive answer until I could summon 3 or 4 Shikigami in order to determine whether there was a static cost reduction or whether it was proportional to the cost of the most expensive chakra cost Shikigami currently summoned. Does the amount of Shikigami currently maintained also matter? Etc. I couldn't help but agree with him. Just a single example couldn't allow me to form a conclusive judgment on whether the cost reduction on Toad when summoned in tandem with Divine Dogs is a static and proportional thing or not. Third, and perhaps most importantly, I believe my Shikigami, as already noted, are the same when summoned. Time seemingly doesn't pass from whatever shadow realm they come from. They have personalities. Cute, stoic, and loyal are what describe my Divine Dogs pair. The newest addition, Jeff is playful and quite the prankster, slapping Mir and Nock with his tongue on occasion to irritate them when summoned. From this, of course, I, as well as Eiichi, concluded it's best to train them to work together even without my direct orders. For example, they were currently practicing their, as I term it, tongue grab and maul combo. An unnecessarily long name for a combo, I know, but it works. Smack. As I once again sank deep into my thoughts, I felt a painful smack on my head. Yeouch. I turned to meet the brown eyes of my sadistic sensei, who has a frustrated and disappointed look on his face. I didn't even hear his footsteps. Why'd you do that for? I roar out at the child abuser, right? This dude smacks me here and there when I do something he doesn't like. The prices I pay for training. Sigh. Akira, your habit of sinking into your own thoughts would send you into an early grave. He sighs in disappointment as he chastises me. Once again. Eiichi-sensei, with due respect, I am in a safe environment. It is obvious I wouldn't do this in a more precarious situation. I reason. He shakes his head. For all the intelligence you show, you fail to see the fundamental problem. How mature. Mocking my intelligence. Which is? I groan. He's getting into his lecturing pose. It is a habit, Akira. Habits are largely automatic. Whether you simply decide or not to sink into your own thoughts isn't up to your control. What you can do is work on reducing this habit and or adjusting it to not impair you in missions. He explains, I guess. I mumble with a lowered head. Do I even have to mention how many times I had to break you out of your trance when training? When you're accustomed to a certain situation or action, you sink into your thoughts occasionally and allow the habitual automatic responses that you've ingrained to take care of the rest. Like most habits, this would work and be useful in most cases, permitting you to think about more important matters or save energy for something that may or may not come in the near future. He elaborates, okay. So what I'm doing is fine. I respond confidently, he literally just confirmed what I do is actually beneficial. At my words, Eiichi gained a glint in his eye. However, this can be used against you. You are used to responding to kicks to your head with a certain kata I taught you, so you habitually respond as taught, mind inactive. But what if he pivots and does a differing move? Add a jutsu on top of his kick. Perhaps a genjutsu? Akira, the katas I teach you are to be used mindfully. Make the mistake of habitually and mindlessly utilizing them in battle, and you will eventually perish. He completes his lecture, having delivered his intended lesson. Ah, I see. He's right. I still don't think I'd truly sink into my thoughts in a literal battle to the death, but habitual and mindless responses to certain familiar attacks can prove fatal if the opponent suddenly pivots and I respond like a robot. Akira, we'll be cutting today's lesson short. Eiichi announces as he turns and makes his way toward the strange table with vials I have yet to question him about. Okay. I declared happily at not having to be on the edge of death by exhaustion today. I didn't question him about that suspicious table simply because my concern triumphed over my curiosity. As they say, curiosity killed the Akira. I think. He moved to grab a single vial of green liquid before I leave. I'll be providing you with a gift. He announces a gift. Oh, how generous. A suspicious-looking liquid. Hope he doesn't force me to chug that stuff. He approaches me as I stare at him with confusion marring my face. He grabs my hand and forces the vial into my hand. As much as I didn't want to take it. What is this? I carefully question. Poison. Sooner made. He responds matter-of-factly. Amichem, I see. The hell? Sensei, why this gift in particular? I asked with a cracked smile, gratitude radiating from every inch of my body. You neglect the minor aspect of your Kekkei Genkai. As you claim it to be, I disagree, he responds enigmatically as per usual. The dude just can't decide whether he wants to be clear and concise or just plain annoying and mysterious. Just tell me. Oh, he's making his exit once he's left me confused. Another classic Eiichi antic. As I contemplate and digest his words, glaring at the bottle of Tsunade poison, he leaves me once again alone in his own underground training ground. Once again, the common sense of this world eludes me. A dangerous bottle of poison was delivered as a gift straight into my very own hands as a 6-year-old. Given as if it were a box of chocolates. I sigh at the absurdity of the surprises this new life keeps throwing at me. On to trying to decrypt whatever meaning he shoved into this. I mumble as I glare at the bottle even harder. Does he mean my shadow storage? I have mentioned to him that it's a rather lackluster aspect of my Kekkei Genkai. I mean, sure, as a training method it works, evident by the moment I told him of the burden aspect, compelling me to shove bricks into my shadows whenever I'm doing my day-to-day stuff. Which is creative, I'll give him that. Being a mobile storage is pretty good for kunai storage, supplies, and even food. That's the really useful stuff. But what do I do with an extremely potent poison? Hold up. Wait a minute. Choto mata kudasi. As I contemplate the uses of a literal deadly poison, I come across a revelation. I can use this as a surprise attack. Throwing a bottle of deadly poison at my enemy, I can pop out of his shadow, explode it on his face, and dive back unaffected by the poison. He never knew I had it since my shadow storage is an unknown ability. It's genius. I exclaim in excitement. That's a literal trump card. Damn. How didn't I think of that? Actually, this allows for more options. Poisonous and noxious gas containers and a gas mask are in my storage as well. I only pull them when I use them so they don't expect an attack like that. This is insanely useful when in sticky situations. You know what? The morally questionable implications of gifting a 6-year-old a literal vial of deadly poison are no longer in the cards for contemplation. Instead, it is in the cards for reasons to be grateful to the great Eiichi. Granted, there are not many reasons to be grateful to that sadistic old bat, but it's a steadily rising list at this point. With a wicked grin, I make my way out of the underground training area towards my home. Contemplating nasty surprises, I can pop out of my shadows. Having reached a revelation of its actual possibilities. Can't wait to tell Shikamaru about this one. I chuckle as I exit the training ground, my eyes meeting the bleeding evening light. Although, he'd probably wave it off and go back to sleep. On top of that, today's Saturday. I get to fish tomorrow. Huzzah! What a fine day. Third-person POV. In the heart of the Noro Council building lay the main room, a place of structured authority. 3 identical seats occupied a raised platform at the head of the room, their significance undeniable. Just below them, a large round table, circled by chairs, hosted a gathering of papers, as if awaiting an imminent debate. And then, towering above those 3, at the very heart of the room, a single elevated seat stood in solitary grandeur. The scene was a visual declaration of hierarchy, a setting where decisions of paramount importance were made, the Noro Council's inner sanctum. A lone man sits upon the rightmost seat of the 3 identical seats, his posture relaxed in contrast to the impatient look on his face, clearly waiting for someone. His looks are a mix of white and brown hair and wrinkles on his face to emphasize his older age. Creak. The main double door audibly opens as another man enters the council's main court. Thank goodness, Eiichi. What took you so long? The seated man exclaimed with a mix of relief and irritation. Apologies for being late, Makoto. I was busy instructing our newest topic of interest. You calling me here cut our lesson short. Eiichi apologizes easily as he makes his way towards the central seat among the 3 equally elevated. Ah, Akira's training. How is the boy's progress with his Kekkei Genkai? Anything new you've been able to learn about it? What about his training in general? Makoto questioned in thinly veiled interest as he looked upon Eiichi as he sat down. Nothing concrete so far. The boy is still hiding a few aspects of his Kekkei Genkai. Other than that, his taijutsu is noteworthy only to be contrasted by his deadly habit and cowardly nature. His chakra capacity seems to be noticeably above average for a Noro his age. Eiichi explained mechanically, phenomenal. Would you be against me joining you in a few sessions with him? Don't get ahead of yourself, old friend. Shikaku chose me specifically out of the 3 of us for a reason. Don't even think of coming unannounced. Eiichi responds tiredly with an edge of a threat. It's a shame. I would have loved to train the rising star and future pride of the Noro clan myself. Makoto remarks with faux sadness. Believe me, it's not that grand of an experience. Rising star is a bit of a stretch right now. Eiichi jested. Haha. You know as well as I do, you old coot, what he means for the Noro. Makoto roars out in laughter regardless. Makoto, I have not come here for banter and gossip. Get to the point. Why have you called me here? Eiichi cut to the chase, locking narrowed eyes with Makoto. I asked for your presence so I could offer my granddaughter to him as a marriage partner. Makoto exclaimed happily as he grabbed a paper out of his pocket, his confident smile firmly etched on his face. Bah, you should have called Shikaku if you wanted to offer such nonsense. Eiichi responded with a dismissal. Why so dismissive, Eiichi? I need your opinion, is all. Makoto responded unperturbed by Eiichi's dismissal. You know as well as I that it is too early to press him into an arranged marriage. Shikaku himself asked for us to hold off finding him partners and an arrangement until the boy was 12, and officially marrying him off at 16. Eiichi remarked. Why should we listen to him? It's a small difference. He'll still get married at 16. I'm only offering him a partner early. Makoto reasoned. Don't be a greedy fool. Shikaku would not have made demands, no matter how insignificant, like the ones he made if he didn't have a card to play. You are neglecting that factor. Wait patiently, adhere to the agreement, and the results will be mutually beneficial. You can offer your granddaughter among the prospects then. Eiichi chastised. His eyes narrowed at the younger council member. Where has your passion gone, Eiichi? You've become so dull and risk-averse, rotting in the comforts of peace and administration. I remember you were the pride and joy of the clan, shining brighter than the last 2 clan heads on your lonesome, whether it was in the shinobi arts or leadership. Your boldness seems to have lost its edge. Makoto comments in sadness, reminding Eiichi of his aged glory. Will that be it, Makoto? Eiichi questions slowly as he pinches his brows. No. I need your help with this. The funds required for Akira's protection. 1 Jonin. Trustworthy. Makoto notices Eiichi's stubborn denial of his proposed marriage plan and moves on to the next topic of interest, almost giving Eiichi whiplash at the sudden change of atmosphere. And so, the topic of Akira's arranged marriage was dismissed for now. Or was it? 10 months following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. A familiar scene, the training ground of the academy, a plethora of eager first-year students, now more freshly equipped to spar thanks to the new material and practice they have been learning in the second semester. The Konoha standard taijutsu. To some, this was a revolutionary method of sparring. Students who were previously the underdogs were now on a higher ranking in the class's fitting strongest list. Once again, the kids were eager and excited as they talked amongst themselves, eager to prove themselves in a spar. Our usual trio find themselves less eager, of course. Choji, sitting on the grass with the usual nervous smile he has prior to a spar. Once in a while, Shikamaru and Akira, our protagonist, find themselves on the same wavelength. Trying their best to doze off, lying down on the grass, eyes directed at the wide blue sky. Until Akira POV. PE and sparring classes. So far it's been a breeze. Mostly in part due to my complimentary cheat training from Eiichi, the man himself. All my fights were easy, despite the new curriculum. Learning taijutsu under the guidance of a skilled jonin seems to have done wonders for me, improving largely thanks to my more patient and comprehensive mind as an adult in a child's body. Taking training really seriously with Eiichi's guidance. I've grown to trust the old stoic stereotype guy. He's pretty rough around the edges, but he shows he cares. In his own sadistic and weird way, he shows it. Is it because of me being the son of Hikari? Could be. Nevertheless, he hasn't given me a reason to not trust him, so I believe it's fine. Also, my shadow storage is a force to be reckoned with. Don't ask what's in there. I'd get arrested. Yes, even in a shinobi village. It's that bad. The best part was that most of it was supplied by Eiichi himself. He's apparently quite sly and not as law-abiding as I initially suspected. Respect. I've tested it when trying to tame rabbit escape. Let's just say, the test was unintentional, and I was forced into using external tools poisonous gas to get rid of the rabbits. They were much more dangerous than initially anticipated, quite literally overwhelming me and my boys, our lack of clear firepower showing its ugly mug. Though, the knowledge ingrained in me was proven correct as the rabbits died from suffocation and I didn't get any tamed rabbits. So, taming rabbit escape is on the back burner. For now, I'm scheduled to attempt it again next month with Eiichi's supervision. Why a month? I have no idea, honestly. Eiichi cancelled the last lesson under the explanation that he had important things to take care of. Coincidentally, Uncle also seemed on edge recently. Like extremely on edge. He's a composed individual and he hides his concerns really well. But now, whatever is troubling him seems to be ranked at around an 8/10 by sheer observation. Post-Kyuubi attack, Uncle was at a 10/10. According to this rating, something weird and likely concerning is going on. And I have no clue what it is. Is it clan business? That's a likely reason, but I lack detail to really come up with an explanation. Also, according to Eiichi, we the Noro are pretty well off financially speaking in comparison to the other clans post-Kyuubi attack. Our compound was on the other side of the village when the Kyuubi attacked. So that really cuts off that option. So what could it be? I guess it's fine for now. Those are adult worries after all. I need to enjoy my youth. Yeah. Hope this doesn't bite me in the butt later on. Uchiha Sasuke. Noro Akira. Please come to the circle. Suzuki-sensei announces, snapping me out of my daydreaming. It's time once again. A large grin forms on my face. Oh yeah. I announce happily as I get up, you've been waiting for this, haven't you? Shikamaru sat up so he could witness the fight. Akira, are you sure you can beat him this time? Choji questions innocently, my adorable and ignorant friend. I'm much stronger now. I announce confidently, pointing at myself. Choji raises his eyebrow at that. That's what you said 2 weeks ago when he beat you for the 4th time in a row, Shikamaru deadpanned. It's getting closer. Also, how about you participate in a spar for once in your life? I respond with annoyance, my eyebrow twitching as I make my way towards the circle. No, thanks. I'd rather enjoy my day. He says as his voice is barely heard at the distance I've crossed. You better bet on me. I shout at them. I'm not losing any Rio today. Shikamaru voices back his sentence barely heard. Wow. What a supportive cousin. Good luck, Akira. Choji's voice carried a mix of reluctance and honesty as he wished me well from a distance. But, thanks for the vote of confidence, Choji. I grumble to myself now. I may have said all my fights have been a breeze thus far. And that's true. Except for Uchiha Dam Sasuke. I don't get it. I'm rapidly improving and yet this kid is still messing me up. I don't care that he is Naruto's rival later on. So far, Sasuke and I are leagues apart from everyone here in skill, including Naruto. I suspect the kid is noticing the fights are getting closer and is amping up his own private training. Probably nagging at Daddy Fugaku for training. I can already imagine it. Imagination start. Father, Sasuke implored with puppy dog eyes, I request special training. What for, Sasuke? Fugaku responded stoically, his eyes narrowing at the pleading boy. I am close to losing to a rapidly improving, handsome, elegant Noro, Sasuke declared earnestly. Father, for the sake of our Uchiha pride, I cannot lose and tarnish it. He gave the finishing blow and meet me in the backyard every day after school for S-rank Uchiha training. Fugaku acknowledged with pride in his tone. Imagination end. That's definitely what happened. And here I thought I was the only one pressing for supplementary training after classes. It's even more irritating when I know Jeff could wipe the floor with Sasuke. Not that Jeff wouldn't be able to do the same to me. But you know, on the bright side, I've gotten used to the embarrassment of getting beaten up by a 7-year-old kid. It's quite a humbling experience. I wouldn't wish it upon even my worst enemies. Time skip, another loss incoming. Hair, Noro. A cheeky squeaky voice calls out to my left as I am about to reach the circle. I turn to meet the eyes of Kiba. This kid's been finding my Sasuke-induced losses as funny. Buzz off, Inuzuka. Go sniff up someone else's butt. I wave him off, causing him to splutter and, consequently, Akamaru to fall off his head. Fut. Ha ha. He got you good. Naruto, who was beside him, roared out in laughter, slapping Kiba's back. I reach the circle before Kiba gets the chance to respond. My eyes meet with the figure of my current nemesis. I give him no words or witty remarks as I get into position. He seems to be completely immune to trash talk, unfortunately. But that wasn't my crutch and trick in these spars for quite a while. Now, I rely on my skills and strength. Are you boys ready? Mizuki-sensei's voice cuts through the mumblings of the crowd, betting on who wins. A weird practice that seemed to form in regard to the occasional bouts Sasuke and I have. Though, I am quite literally never being betted on, so no one really earns or loses anything. Yeah, ready. I flash Sasuke a confident smirk. I crack my knuckles and stretch as I await my opponent's response. Ready. Sasuke responds as well. Forming a smirk that's carrying a hint of cockiness, I get into my Noro clan taijutsu stance. It isn't an amazing taijutsu style considering I have yet to learn shadow possession, but it is definitely better than the Konoha standard. Begin. Suzuki-sensei's announcement signaled the start of the fight. Get him, Sasuke Kun. You're losing today once again. Noro. Win, Sasuke Kun. The obligatory fangirls began cheering as usual when Sasuke got in the ring. Sasuke decided to take the initiative this time and launched himself at me at an impressive speed. Is gotten faster again. Swoosh. A punch launched at my gut. I back away from its trajectory. Narrowly dodging it, Sasuke proceeds to follow up with a step forward and a powerful kick to my face. I block with my elbow and push it aside. With my superior strength, I duck and attempt to low kick him. He backs away, knowing he can't block it even with his knees. A large distance formed between us as we glared at each other, planning our next move. Okay. So far so good for our first exchange. As always, the Noro clan taijutsu is more of a defensive style, so unlike my previous fighting style, I need to patiently wait for him to come at me. Sasuke knows this. With that, I'm reminded of Aichi's advice after my third loss. Does the Uchiha heir have his Sharingan? No? Then you should win. Contradict your style, get him comfortable with your defenses, and suddenly transition into the offensive. Easier said than done. In order to do that, I need him to be a bit closer so he can't react properly to my sudden movements. Sasuke knows I'm faster, so he's making the correct move, keeping a large distance between us after each engagement swoosh. Sasuke launches himself at me once again, covering the distance between us almost instantly. Oh slash, I cry out in a panic as I was lost in my thoughts. Don't mock me, Noro. Sasuke comments in irritation at me for losing focus. He, as planned. Bam! He launched a power punch at my face, causing my head to move to the side. Shit! That hurt. Spit. I spit out a tooth and blood at that punch. Noticing I didn't fall, Sasuke's eyes widened upon seeing my grinning face. But I'm already moving before he can react. Here's your first loss, you smug Uchiha. I say with a bloodthirsty grin as I, with my superior weight and strength, lift the Uchiha up and suplex him into the ground. Bam! The resounding sound of Sasuke's body hitting the hard ground causes the cheering crowd to suddenly go silent. I move and take a look at the lying boy below me, who seems to be struggling in pain. It was a good fight. As I was about to announce my victory tiredly, Sasuke's body suddenly moved. He propelled himself with impressive upper body strength into the air and locked his legs around my neck. Oh motherfucker dash, I began to choke as he began to squeeze with all his strength. I managed to stand my ground despite Sasuke propelling himself at me and not fall as I stand with Sasuke choking me with his legs. I attempt to throw punches at him, but he weaves around them easily by twisting his upper body. My punches are getting weaker and less concentrated at me choking. Oh, no. I'm losing consciousness. Enough. Winner. Uchiha Sasuke. Good spar. Suzuki-sensei's voice pierces through the silence and causes Sasuke to release his hold on me. He falls to the ground, not looking really good as a result of my suplex, struggling to breathe along with pained grunts. Cough. 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 I fall to my knees trying to catch my breath, holding my nearly crushed throat, trying my best not to fall unconscious. As the kids silently watched our suffering in stunned curiosity, Suzuki-sensei called out to the crowd. Suzuki-sensei claps his hands. We'll be continuing the lesson. Who would like to take them to the nurse's office out of all of you who have already participated? Sensei questioned cheerfully at his words. All the fangirls, even those who haven't participated in a fight, raised their hands. Shikamaru and Choji haven't participated in a fight yet, so they refrained. Haruno-san, take them to the nurse's room. Sensei hummed as he chose an actual fangirl who participated in a spa today. Thanks, Sensei. She swiftly made her way to the pained Sasuke, helping him get up and lending him a shoulder. I raise my head to take a look at Sakura moving away with Sasuke. Without helping me. I know I deserve this, but I'll be Mac cough. 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 Making fun of her forehead more often because of this. I announce my revenge. Suzuki-sensei noticed my neglected figure and sent me a pitying look. Do you need someone else to lead you to the nurse's office? No, I'll be fine getting there cough. On my own. I wave him off and cough my way towards the nurse's office. The nurse's room, a room I seldom find myself in. But I have found myself in these last two Sasuke fights. Only this time, the reason behind me being here is also with me for a change of pace. Couldn't you have toned it down a bit, boys? I mean Nurse Yumi sighed as she treated Sasuke's wounds while I waited patiently. Not my fault this guy's a pain in the butt. I interject as I cut her sentence short, pointing at the angry gremlin who's getting medical ninjutsu treatment. Don't talk like that to Sasuke. Sakura glares at me. Look, Pinky, we've been through this. He doesn't need your verbal protection. You should boost up your own defenses. You get me? I retort as I glare at her comically large forehead, refusing to make eye contact with her. Go. She growls and grits her teeth at me. See? She no longer breaks out into tears because of me making fun of her forehead. Ah, human resilience at its finest. Sigh. What is your sensei thinking? You're lucky both of you boys are small, or else that suplex would have needed surgery to treat you. Nurse Yumi spoke to Sasuke in worry. HN. Sasuke gives a small nod. I think Sensei was just engrossed in the spa, much like our lovely crowd was. I pointed out my explanation as Sensei's lack of professionalism. Your Sensei is Suzuki, right? Nurse Yumi asks us. Yes. Sakura responds with a nod. Of course, it is. She grumbles as she finishes treating Sasuke and moves on to me. You kids do me a favor. Your Sensei has given me many headaches with his last year's bunch, so please be careful in your sparring. No. Restraint. She chastised us as she checked the bruise on my throat, applying medical ninjutsu to it. Oh god, that's relieving. Akira, Sasuke calls out to me. It's unusual for smug Uchiha to call out to me. I point at my throat being healed with my finger. I can't talk during healing. He notices this and nods at me, a small smirk on his face. Good spar. My eyes widen at the surprising sportsmanship of the kid. That's oddly touching. I nod with a slight smile on my face, meeting the onyx eyes of Sasuke with my own dark green eyes. Don't move. I can't heal you properly like that. Nurse Yumi ordered in a way that reminded me of Auntie. Yes. I couldn't help but respond internally, on reflex. After getting treated by the kind and scary nurse, who's way too similar to Auntie, I exit the nurse's office and head to the gates alone. Sasuke left to rest and await his parents, being more injured than me. I suspect Sakura stayed there to introduce herself to Sasuke's parents as his romantic interest. When they are only 7. I digress. I arrive at the academy gates and see from a distance the slumping figure of Shikamaru, who has more than likely fallen asleep, standing up. And Choji, of course, was waiting for me. Kept you guys waiting. I call out to them as I quicken my walking. At my words, Shikamaru's eyes slowly open. Took you long enough. He retorts as I approach. I was practically fighting for my life there. I deadpan at the disrespect as I arrive beside them. It was the closest you ever were to beating him. If you didn't let your guard down, you could have won. Choji attempted to cheer me up. Yeah, I know. I thought that was enough to keep him down. Relishing in my alleged victory made me lose, ironically. I grumble in slight frustration. Let's just go home. Don't ruin my mood any more than it already is, I say as we begin to walk away from the academy gates. Still a sore loser after 5 times. Huh? Shikamaru hums. I wisely ignore my cousin. Hey, would going to Ichiraku improve your mood? Choji suggested, honestly. I'm feeling more yakiniku Q. A man needs protein. I flex my muscles. If you are a man, then I'm the yellow flash. Shikamaru maturely added, Shika, I'll let loose Jeff on you, if you keep up with that rude talk of yours. I threaten with a smile, troublesome. I'll stop. Shikamaru goes pale and clicks his tongue. Who's Jeff? Choji questions innocently. No one. Shikamaru and I respond simultaneously. As the evening light begins to paint the sky with its warm hues, Shikamaru and I return to our cozy home. We're home. I announce as Shikamaru and I enter our homely abode. Uncle? Auntie? You here? I question. Welcome home. How was the academy? Auntie greets us with a warm smile. It was fine, I answer neutrally. It was a drag, Shikamaru chimes in as usual. Akira, what is that bruise? Did you get injured again in the academy? She narrows her eyes at the noticeable bruise on my neck. It was a very intense spar. I nod at her. Was it the Uchiha air again? She questioned tiredly. We both nod again. Weirdly, upon confirmation of the statement, her face becomes uncomfortable. I wasn't the only one who noticed this as Shikamaru's eyes narrowed in confusion at Auntie's weird apprehension. Well, I see as you've come late. You decided to eat out today as well. We don't give you much of an allowance, so be careful what you spend on. We have food at home. Auntie said gently, and then in a mood swing that is characteristic of her, turned into a screaming banshee, causing me and Shikamaru to cover our ears. Auntie, where's Uncle? I quickly changed the topic to take out the banshee's attention from not eating her homemade food for dinner. Her face changes into worry. Once again. He's out late again today, isn't he? I narrow my eyes, yes. It's just internal village issues. Nothing that you boys should worry about. She smiles weakly as she ruffles both of our hair. Go take a bath. I'll go heat it up. She continued as she turned around and went towards the bath. Is it really nothing that I need to worry about? As I was about to follow her and question her about it, Shikamaru nudged at me. I look at him and see him shaking his head. But Shikama no, she'll dodge the question. He confirms the futility of it. Do you have at least some idea what's going on? I question him, having no clue. I don't know. The only clue I have is that there are internal issues with civilians attacking and boycotting the Uchiha. Dad complained to Mom about it the other day when you were busy training with Eiichi. He told me what he knew. Sigh, don't worry about it, Akira. As Mom said, it isn't our problem. I'll be going to relax on the couch. Feel free to join me, he said as he left to mull over his information. Are the Uchiha being abused? I understand that it's a complicated problem, a problem familiar to me from my first life. Is that truly it, though? The Uchiha's only problem would be. My face turns pale as I remember what could happen at any time and any moment this year or next year. Oh, no. The Uchiha massacre. But that doesn't make any sense. Itachi massacred the Uchiha to test his power. An absurd and clinically insane way to test your own power. But you can't really understand the workings that go on in the mind of a literal psycho. Is there a connection between the poor treatment of the Uchiha recently and the massacre? No, there isn't. Not that I can think of. Are they a coincidence? That's not too far-fetched to happen. No clue. Absolutely no clue. Damn it. Stop thinking about the narrow connection. The Uchiha massacre is an impending catastrophe. What can I do about it? How do I save them? Without being on the chopping block myself. There is no way I can stop Itachi on my own without dying, and even then it isn't guaranteed he'll be taken out. Trying to save a few people by hiding them in my shadow? Rejected. I can't store living beings besides myself there. Telling someone about it? Rejected. Do I want to, at best, be called insane and at worst be forced into a Yamanaka mind-reading session? Itachi's reputation is so impeccable it would be downright lunacy for anyone to think he'd resort to doing something like what he's about to do. Damn it. Damn it all. Poor Sasuke. And with that I was silent the whole night, caring not about sleep as I tried my best to come up with the ideal resolution to what seemed to be an impossible problem. But one ultimate conclusion that keeps haunting me rings aloud in my mind. Weakness coupled with knowledge. Once again, it proves to be the source of my suffering in this new life. Helpless in the face of imminent catastrophe that I would have been able to stop were I stronger. Warning, rabbit brutality imminent. Read at your own discretion. No rabbits were hurt in the making of this chapter. Evening time. 11 months following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. A familiar office, with two individuals making themselves comfortable as they both sip on some green tea. The first is an old man easily recognized throughout the village and especially renowned among the Noro. He is Noro Eiichi. The individual fitting his age and expertise sits comfortably, radiating wisdom and sheer confidence, even while doing something as mundane as sipping on tea. The second, an individual sitting in front of Eiichi, is the exact opposite. A young 7-year-old boy. His spiky brown, almost black hair stands out in his visage. The boy wears a calm and relaxed expression as he sips his tea in tranquility, an expectant glance thrown towards his elder every now and then. The boy is, of course, our protagonist, Noro Akira. However, as expected, the tranquil expression of the boy is clearly a facade. For obvious reasons. Akira POV. Can you really blame me for being apprehensive about going on a rematch with those murder rabbits? At first, when I summoned them, I suspected they might resemble those murder rabbits from ReZero. But you know, suspicion is just that, suspicion. Nothing concrete. They were almost bloody identical. Do I have to mention how painful a rabbit bite is? Those Bugs Bunny buck teeth aren't fooling around. And it would have been much simpler were they just regular rabbits. But according to Eiichi, who observed my first attempt from afar, They were pretty enhanced in their capabilities, especially in the speed department. Rabbit escape. My ass. More like rabbit assault. Anyway, knowing how Eiichi, my lovely sensei, runs things around here, I can't really refuse attempting to exorcise these guys once again. But as I've learned so far, there really isn't much to be afraid of besides the getting hurt part. Eiichi is overlooking the entire process in case it becomes iffy, and I can still resort to using my morally questionable equipment that would most likely be categorized as war crime level weaponry back on Earth. All is fair in love and rabbit murder, though. Don't call Peter. Anyway, if I have to fight a murderous army of rabbits, I might as well do it with style, no? Last time was more of a brute force tactic anyway, and that sure as hell didn't work out. It seems a more delicate and intricate approach is needed for an easy victory. So, in the name of avoiding that agonizing, trauma-inducing rabbit bite, I've devised a plan to defeat and tame these rabbits, or at least I hope it works. The exact mechanics of how they get tamed by dying at my hand are quite vague, but my new plan hinges on its flexibility. The real problem, though, is that the plan also depends on whether my sensei feels generous. Eiichi grew impatient with my expectant glances. "What is it you want, boy?" he asked. "Well, I have a plan to defeat the rabbits today." "I see, and that plan depends on me somehow." He guessed with a raised eyebrow, meeting my eyes with his own glaring at me. Yes, that's right." I reply with hesitation. Damn this old man and his creepy people reading skills. "Actually, I'd like you to teach me a jutsu." I request with a lowered tone and head, losing confidence in his glare. An awkward silence envelops the room, especially me. I bring my head up to get a read on him. He seems to be thinking about it, but that's all his poker face is letting me see. "What is your plan, boy?" he asks stoically. "Pardon." Sigh. "Akira, you know that jutsu are not to be taken lightly. They're powerful and can be dangerous when misused. My concern is ensuring your safety. However, if your plan truly hinges on a jutsu for its success, and you can demonstrate the necessity for it, I'm willing to consider teaching you." He lectured tiredly, pinching the bridge of his nose. That makes sense. Understandable, Eiichi-sensei. My plan, since the conditions of a successful taming convey nothing about environmental setup, was to use that to my advantage. I begin to vocalize my plan to Eiichi. "Can I grab that?" I ask, pointing to a stack of papers and a pen on his side. "Go on." He motions. "Oh, he'll love this. My plan is this," I blurted out, excitement evident in my voice. "A large, deep pit. I summon Jeff at the top, wrap myself in his tongue for a quick escape, then dive into the hole to initiate the exorcism ritual. All the rabbits will be in one dense cluster. Once I signal Jeff, he'll pull me out, and I'll unleash a fire-style jutsu or a water-style jutsu, taking them all out in one go, and I'll be safe." I look expectantly at Eiichi as he considers my plan. "Come on, man. It's genius. Admit it. It's a decent plan," he responded, his words coming out measured. "But it hinges on several variables." "Well, true, but..." "I know, but I can't really discover the limits and intricacies of my Kekkei Genkai and taming rituals without testing things out," I respond with certainty in my eyes, understanding what he was trying to imply. He mulls over it for a moment and asks another question. He seems to have prepared ever since my initial drawing. "And how exactly do you plan to dig the pit?" he asks with his finger on the large hole sketch I made. I was definitely not expecting that kind of inquiry. I mean, that's not that big of a problem, is it? You surely know some Earth-style jutsu that could do the trick, right? I asked with a hint of confusion in my tone. At that, a small smirk forms on my sensei's face. A smirk I've grown familiar with over these past months with his guidance. I most certainly know of some Earth-style jutsu that would be able to create the ideal environment you seek. But I grimace. "You'll have to figure out how to dig it on your own. I'll teach you a fire-style jutsu for your plan other than that." His smirk widens a little at that. "You've got to be kidding me. He has no issue teaching me a literally dangerous fire-style jutsu, a flamethrower for short. But digging a large pit for me is apparently a problem. How hypocritical can you be? Now, don't be ungrateful, Akira. I'll give you some advice. The scale of the fire jutsu you can do with your current capabilities won't allow you to eliminate all the rabbits. That's another flaw of your plan. What I do suggest is getting a cover for the hole prepared once you make your way out of there, so they suffocate from the gas released by the fire. Amused by my annoyed and bewildered look, the great Eiichi threw me a bone. That would result in the same result as last time. I deadpan at my sensei's faulty reasoning, which apparently wasn't so faulty, as he interrupted my sentence with his reasoning. You plan to test whether chakra-induced phenomena allow you to tame them, do you not? The gas that suffocates the rest of them should also, in theory, count as a chakra-induced phenomenon. The noxious gas you used previously was not a chakra-induced phenomenon that was sourced from you, so it was clear that it would invalidate your ritual. He finished the explanation. It seems my plan is not as perfect and simple as I initially thought it'd be. Ah, what a bother. Thankfully Shikamaru isn't here. He demotivate me by reasoning about how much of a drag this entire plan is to execute. Well, learning to create literal flames is certainly a fun bonus. Thanks, Eiichi-sensei. Let's get to learning the jutsu, shall we? I announce in excitement as I get up from my chair, gulping the whole tea at once. You have 2 weeks to learn the jutsu I provide you as well as prepare the environment for the plan. Use whatever methods you'd like as long as you don't bother me or hurt yourself needlessly. You will not be able to use the jutsu adequately until then. You are to dismantle your plan and defeat the rabbits another way. Eiichi announced, getting up from the chair and leading the way to the underground training area where we always train. Great. Another deadline. Well, 2 weeks isn't too bad. Do take heed, Akira. What I'm teaching you is a Chunin-level fire-style jutsu. But before that as well, I'll have to teach you the flame resistance technique. Can't have you burn yourself? Can I? He says with a hint of sadism as he turns around to look at me. Turning around once again to make his way towards the training ground, having said his piece. I carefully process the information to draw a simple conclusion. The hell? 2 weeks for a Chunin-level jutsu. I've never even done jutsu. No, 10 shadows does not count. I couldn't hold back my frustration. Eiichi-sensei, with all due respect, have you gone senile? I yelled as I hurried to catch up to his distancing figure. Don't doubt yourself, Akira. If my old age has indeed not caught up to me, this should prove to be an achievable goal for you. He says with certainty and slight amusement as I am at his side. Achievable? Is he serious? Glaring at me won't solve your insecurities, Akira. He chastised us easily as we arrived at the door, leading us underground. What an ass. I muttered under my breath. In addition to my usual taijutsu and 10 shadows training, I've added a jutsu exercise on top of that. All for the sake of defeating those measly rabbits. Lovely. Well, Uncle's lucky Eiichi decided to teach me a jutsu, or else I'd have to nag him to death. Or threaten him with accusing him of being drunk again to Auntie. That shit works every time. 1 week later. Night time. Third person POV. In the privately owned Noro forest grounds, an unusual scene unfolds. A young boy wields a shovel with determination, vigorously digging within an already substantial pit. Drops of sweat glisten on his furrowed brow. Yet, what truly distinguishes this sight from the ordinary is the presence of 2 wolves, each gripping a shovel in their mouths, diligently aiding the boy in his labor. Not to be outdone, a large toad joins the effort, using its mouth to scoop dirt and then inexplicably spitting it in the boy's direction. Splat. The softened dirt finds its mark, smearing the boy's face with a layer of grime. In a mechanical motion, the boy turns to fix his gaze on the large toad. One more time, Jeff. One more time and your target practice for my jutsu. The boy's voice was now tinged with impatience and simmering frustration. It's apparent that this isn't the first time today he has endured a dirt-based toad assault. The boy splashes water from a nearby bucket on his face to clean off the toad-induced filth. With a weary sigh following the threat towards the toad and subsequent cleanup, the boy gazes at the fading evening sky. That is now transitioning into the night. Auntie won't blame me for staying late. Will she? It's our private grounds after all. Private and safe as can be. The boy thought in amusement. Hooray for inherited riches and hierarchy. The boy seems to sorely lack tact. Akira POV. I think my situation is pretty self-explanatory. In the name of easy victory and flawless planning, I am currently brute forcing the creation of a large enough pit for my rabbit genocide scheme. Since my 10 shadows thing is a bit of a secret, I can't really ask anyone else for assistance in this. Anyone that is preferably with Earth-style jutsu in his arsenal for that matter. For the better part of the week, I've managed to dig an 80-foot pit, which has a radius of about 12 feet. I'd like to think in like 3 to 4 days this should be ready. Knock, Mir and Jeff were certainly a cheat code for digging this thing. At least whenever I had the chakra. Speaking of, alright guys, good work today. I'll see you tomorrow. I wave goodbye as I dismiss them, my chakra running low. My full chakra can keep them all up at the same time for around 10 minutes. So that's a considerable growth improvement from when I could only keep Knock and Mir for roughly 5 minutes when I started. Truthfully, I have no way of estimating how good that is in relation to the more powerful Shikigami infusions, as well as using Jutsu in tandem with the upkeep of the Shikigami. Well, I'll figure it out. As the bodies of my Shikigami melted as per usual, I noticed a pile of dirt dropping on the ground where Jeff was. Was he planning on spitting at me again? Never mind that. I think I'll take a break for now. I take out a bento box from the shadows that I asked Auntie to prepare for me in addition to the usual one I take to the academy. I sit down on the cold, dirty ground. As I am about to take a bite out of the tempura shrimp, I hear an unfamiliar voice. Akira. A serious and mature tone of voice called out to me, its echo carrying through the dimly lit and dark forest. What? I screamed, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum at the sudden, unexpected voice. My senses heightened, and I instinctively dropped the bento box, its contents spilling onto the ground. My food. You bastard. Ahem. I take a look at the man who arrived in front of me inside the pit I'm sitting in. His face accentuated a scar across his left cheek and a charred chin. He is Nora Haruki, a well-known and respected individual in our clan. He is a familiar face, one of the Jonin escorts Shikamaru and I had when going out without our parents prior to the academy. Loyalty allowed for such a high-level Jonin to resort to being our makeshift babysitter, funnily enough. Nevertheless, Haruki? What is it? What happened? I tried to calm down my beating heart, forcing my voice to stay steady as I refocused on Haruki. Knowing him, whatever caused him to seek me out meant serious business. I am to safeguard and accompany you back to your home this instant. Uchiha Itachi has betrayed the Leaf by massacring the entirety of the Uchiha clan, as of the latest information. He has been designated as a kill on sight S-rank missing nin. His whereabouts are currently unknown. His words carried a grim note, and his expression was etched with urgency. Haruki's hand gripped my shoulder firmly as he prepared to use the body flicker technique, a simple yet high-level technique mastered by few. My eyes dilated at that chilling information. But I didn't let panic take over. Instead, I responded with a simple, I see, my voice devoid of emotion. My body functions went on autopilot as I dove deep into my mind to run damage control before I guilt-tripped myself. This might get uncomfortable, he warned, his voice now tinged with empathy, as he began forming the hand signs for the body flicker technique. Okay, I responded mechanically, my thoughts already racing ahead to the internal crisis. I never did manage to come up with a solution to this catastrophe. This wasn't my fault. I knew this would happen. I couldn't do anything to stop it. You know, there wasn't anything you could do to stop this without laying down my own life, and even then it isn't guaranteed. But isn't that just an excuse? No, it isn't an excuse. You are not a hero. It never was, never is, and never will be your responsibility. But I let an entire clan be massacred helplessly? How arrogant of me. I let them be massacred? Who do I think I am? That I could stop someone infinitely stronger than me? Letting them die is relying on the assumption that I am responsible for their lives. Which I am not. Just because I have foreknowledge and am a reincarnated individual, I have to save them? Surely not. And yet, isn't that an excuse? Whoosh. All of a sudden I find myself with Haruki at the front door of my home. Whether it was the sudden nauseating movement or whether it was my internal crisis, I don't know. Nevertheless, the result was the same. Leg. I puked my entire dinner and lunch on the floor, the mess on the ground mirroring the turmoil within me. Easy does it, Haruki says placatingly as he lifts the mess that is me up and carries me over into the house. Akira. Auntie yells out in worry, her voice barely registering in my muddled psyche. She grabs me from Haruki's hands. What happened to him? He's sweating like mad. She accused the awkward Jonin. A murderous glare set on him. Sorry, Yoshino-sama. I didn't think he'd react this badly to a shunshin. Though, he did eat only a few moments prior. He apologized with a slight grimace, which only got worse once he realized the error of his ways are. It's so cold. After a moment's pause, Auntie softens her glare. Fine. Thanks for getting him home safely. I can't blame you since the situation's gotten this bad. Stand guard for now in case that maniac gets any funny ideas, she ordered at the awkward Jonin, whose seriousness had been easily subdued in the face of Auntie. He nodded easily at the Nora Head's lady and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Shikamaru. She yelled out suddenly, what? Shikamaru responded in exhaustion from the living room. You've got to collect yourself, Akira. Don't what me. Your cousin is ill. Get the bath ready for him. At her words, Shikamaru suddenly sprang to his feet, making his way towards the front door, and saw me. With a look of genuine concern on his face, he asked, what happened to him? Pointing at my currently stewing self. Don't let them know the truth behind your state. Shikamaru could probably figure out that something isn't right. Say something. Get your mind out of the gutter. I am alright, I managed to say weakly. Auntie's quick intervention saved me from attempting further explanation. Haruki is what happened. That bum used a high-level movement jutsu to get here with Akira. After he just ate. Never mind that. Prepare the bath. He'll be alright. This is a normal reaction. Auntie commanded, her tone laced with concern. Normal. Is it? I thought to myself. Shikamaru immediately responded to Auntie's instructions. He rushed over, genuine concern on his face. Auntie gently guided me to the sofa, her motherly instincts taking over. She smiled weakly, attempting to ease my discomfort. Here, Akira, rest for now. She said softly, thanks, Auntie. I replied with a small and genuine smile, closing my eyes to rest, using the facade of illness to hide my internal turmoil. What a convenient excuse, I mused silently as Auntie made her way to the kitchen. I took the opportunity to observe Auntie's condition as I reopened my eyes. Auntie's face twisted into frustration and sadness. Grabbing her head with the palm of her hand, trying to process what I assume warranted that reaction. The Uchiha massacre. She mumbled something. I could not hear it. But from simple lip reading, the sentence was all too obvious. It's just one disaster after another. Ah, that's right. Auntie had a few friends from the Uchiha as well, didn't she? I hate myself. But I shouldn't. 11 months and 2 weeks following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Noon time. Third-person POV. The academy first-year classroom is only 2 weeks away from the end of the academy year. Usually at a time like this, the kids as well as the teacher would be ecstatic. However, thanks to the recent Uchiha massacre, the village has been in a state of turmoil. The sudden death of an entire major clan, the strongest clan to be exact, was too hard a pill to swallow. The economic and public safety implications, as well as the significant blow Konoha's military strength suffered, were hits that would be on the scale of the Nine-Tails attack itself, perhaps even greater. Many Jonin have been sent to the village borders and on overtime missions to create the illusion of strength. The greatest blow was those that lost among the Uchiha there. Lovers, friends, business partners, and so on. Even a week after the massacre, the somber atmosphere is yet to pass. The attitude of the village children a great indication as to the current state of its being. The current classroom of first years is no different. Even a week later, a sense of normality has yet to return, and the mood is only steadily being lifted by the more cheerful bunch. A couple of missing former Uchiha classmates would do that to you. Friends to some, rivals to others. The realization of death slapping across the face of these young kids would do that. There are also those who try and hide their turmoil from their classmates, masking it with a smile obviously seen through by those closest to them. Much like our protagonist, who's currently wearing a static smile on his face. A miserable attempt at trying to fool others into thinking he's fine. Surely he knows it wouldn't fool his cousin, who's currently sleeping beside him. Shikamaru POV. I've known Akira my entire life. We've been together since we were babies and up till now, and hopefully for the distant future, as much of a drag of a brother he is. He always gets lost in that head of his, mostly for dumb reasons that I remind him of every time. Most of the time, it works against him. When something bad happens, he closes up inside the shell of his mind and keeps it all to himself. Only to open up every here and there when either I or Choji nag him enough, or he's internalized whatever drag he cooked up in there. What I'm trying to say is that he is someone who bounces back on his feet rather quickly even when bad things happen. But it was never this bad. I have no idea why, but ever since the news of the Uchiha massacre came out, he's been reacting the exact way I've just described. All symptoms point to the Akira sad syndrome, as Choji kindly puts it. As I said, this state doesn't usually last very long. But a week? That's abnormal. A week of him dodging both my nagging and questions and only responding with a fake smile. He'd even left Sakura and Aino completely unscathed from his usual witty remarks, causing even the latter to be worried. Then how does the Uchiha massacre come to affect Akira, as unrelated as he is to such an event? I can come up with two factors that, when working in tandem, create this situation. First, Akira has a tendency to act like an adult and take responsibility for things that are really not his business, especially when they are friends of his or have somewhat of a connection. Whether it was that one time 2 years ago when Choji accidentally destroyed a civilian kid's sandcastle and cried when the kid's parents chastised him. Akira went and started giving the parents a verbal beatdown. As heroic as that is, he could have let Choji's parents handle that one. Those words had no effect or result coming from a child in the face of a grown adult. That's only one example of his tendency to get involved and take responsibility for others' troubles. That's also the one factor that explains somewhat why he's avoiding Naruto this badly. He has this odd inclination to avoid the troublesome classmate whenever possible. I attribute it to a level of self-awareness that would suggest he knows he'll try and get involved in the clearly troublesome blonde's life were he to make prolonged contact. And we both know blondes are trouble. Second, Sasuke Uchiha. The last Uchiha. I'm not blind. It's clear to notice the competitive nature of their relationship. Combining these two factors, Akira feels remorseful and somehow responsible for Sasuke's situation. Complete nonsense and disgustingly self-centered in my eyes, but that's how his mind works, as I've observed. I'd wager he'll get better once Sasuke returns to the academy sometime next week, as he is still recuperating. He'd probably do something absurd and stupid like apologize to Sasuke for something he clearly didn't do. Or maybe he'll do something sensible and say his condolences without making himself the center point of the conversation. The only plus side of this situation is he doesn't bother trying to convince me to join his training during evening times. Though, I've had to join him the last 2 days, since he's been coming home looking weathered to an extreme degree. Training until he drops again. Sigh. What a drag. That brother of mine. It's good I'm the calm one of our group. Otherwise, Choji would have died a horrible death from worry. It'd be fantastic if Akira could direct his self-awareness in our direction and understand his making us needlessly worried with his doom and gloom. But who am I kidding? He likely understands at least that much. And that is definitely not a mood to be in when he's planning on having a taming ritual today. The rabbits, if I recall the purpose behind the pit he's been digging these past 2 weeks. Guess I'll have to come and watch despite the elder's presence. What a drag. Akira POV. After we finished up with classes today, Shikamaru, Choji, and I headed towards the gate leading outside. I mostly kept silent the entire time. My worries now focused on the imminent battle I've been preparing this hard for. Today's the day I have to fight Rabbit Escape. As we reached the gate, Choji knew the drill about Thursdays. Good luck in your secret Nora training. Choji wished me well, his awkwardness around me apparent as he fumbled with his words. Thanks, Choji, I replied with a small, genuine smile. Later, Choji, Shikamaru nodded and smiled as he headed in the opposite direction. Bye, Shika. I waved to Shikamaru before turning to make my way towards Eiichi's mansion. As I walk a few minutes, I notice a familiar presence that has rejoined me in my venture. I ignored it for a bit but now opted to investigate a little. Is there a specific reason you're following me? I inquired, maintaining a neutral tone. No reason, he simply shrugged. Ah, this guy. Fine, I grumble. We entered Eiichi's office and took our seats across from him. A steaming cup of tea was placed in front of each of us. Shikamaru-sama, it is an honor to see you again. Eiichi gives a small bow of his head. The feelings are mutual, Eiichi-san, Shikamaru responds tiredly, already losing his patience at the formality stuff. Why did you bring the clan head's son? Eiichi asked, raising a brow. He decided to follow me. I shrugged, my tone flat. Eiichi narrowed his eyes at me. What's his problem? What happened to your usual enthusiasm? He asked, more bluntly. Nowhere. Sip. I'll be fine. Let's just do this. I respond tiredly, taking a calming sip of the tea. Can't they just let me be sad in peace? Then lead the way. You are welcome to join our training anytime, Shikamaru-sama. Eiichi dismissed my attitude and gestured towards the exit as he got up, adding a suggestion to Shikamaru. Thank you for the gracious offer, but I'll only be observing for now. He says in a deadpan that somehow amused Eiichi, judging by his smirk. As you wish. He responds in amusement. Arriving at the privately held Noro forest grounds where my pit has been dug, Eiichi sports an impressed look, seeing the 140-foot deep pit. Shikamaru made sure to climb a tree and take a seat on its branch. A good view of the pit and us for him to spectate. Impressive. Akira, how did you manage to make this? He questioned with a hint of pride. Is he proud of me? Now that's rare. I dug it. I reply simply. Dug it? You mean you learned Earth-style jutsu? Had someone else dig it for you? He questioned, clearly confused. No, I literally dug it, with the help of my shadows and shovels. I give him a straight answer. Why have you not sought out someone proficient in Earth jutsu to dig this out for you in a matter of seconds? You have the resources and connections to leverage someone's time for a few minutes. He pressed me. Well, I can't just bring anyone here, right? It's a secret, my whole taming ritual and Kekkei Genkai. I explained simply, in my words. At that, in what seemed like a minute, Eiichi's face managed to at first convey pride, then confusion, and now, disappointment. Boy, you do realize you're just a child, right? You could have easily dismissed this as a child's whimsical request to an Earth-style jutsu user. There were countless plausible explanations you could have given if anyone asked. I was testing your resourcefulness, and I must say, this choice was far from wise. Eiichi lectured, his voice tinged with disappointment as he shook his head. After a moment's pause to digest his words, I found myself agreeing with him. To my dismay. Oh, yeah. That was an option, wasn't it? I'm probably the dumbest Noro, aren't I? I only nodded mutely at Eiichi's chastising lecture. Sigh. Regardless, you may commence your battle. Have you prepared a cover? He sighed as he asked. Yes, I hid it beside that tree. I pointed at a tree as I went to get a cover that took me the last 2 days to make out of hardened mud. Have you checked whether it will cover the entire pit? Any holes in the cover? Yes, I specifically made it larger than what is needed to cover the pit in case I messed up. As far as I checked, there aren't any holes. And are you confident you are proficient enough with the jutsu I taught you? He asked the most pressing question. The question dictated whether this plan would work or not. I believe it will work. I give him a confident nod, then proceed. Just keep in mind our protocol. We won't intervene unless you declare the taming success or find yourself in danger, Eiichi reminded me while making a thoughtful gesture. Yeah. I wave at him dismissively. Will I feel better if I beat them? I hope so. As I stand here, I can't help but think about everything that's been weighing me down lately. The Uchiha massacre, Sasuke, the somber atmosphere in the village, and the feeling of helplessness that's been consuming me. I need something to break through this, even if just for a moment. Maybe taming rabbit escape can be that comfort I need. A sense of victory, success, proof that I can win and am not helpless. Stop with the self-pity. Get to work. I cut myself out, and with that, let's get started. I stretched my body and cracked my neck, preparing for the rabbit genocide scheme. Toad, I mumbled while forming the shadowgraphic hand signs, summoning Jeff. Remember the drill, Jeff. No fooling around, I instructed him. Croak. He agreed and extended his tongue, securing me. Ugh, this stuff is disgusting. I can't help but express, with the mucus wetting my body and clothes, an uncomfortable sensation. Step 1 is done. Now for step 2. I hop down into the large pit. I lower my hand into my own shadow and grab a gas mask, just in case the plan fails, and I have to resort to using my collection to defeat them. I wear it on my face and now resolve to start the battle. Inhale. Exhale. Let's go. Rabbit escape, I say as my hands form a shadowgraphic rabbit. At that, from the shadows burst out 1, 2, 10, and 30 rabbits rapidly rising in quantity. Now! I yell out as Jeff pulls me with all his strength. Whoosh. At Jeff's strong pull, my body is launched above the pit, a good height above even the Hashirama trees. Jeff's tongue is still attached. But that has all been taken into account. As I fall, I focus on forming the correct hand signs for the jutsu. Snake. Dragon. Rabbit. Every moment, I fall closer and closer to the pit. The jutsu has a mid-range effectiveness, working best within a distance of approximately 16 to 32 feet. For it to be effective in this situation, I needed to be inside the pit as I used it. And so, I fall into the pit, only to dangle at around 30 feet inside the pit, thanks to Jeff. The rabbit swarm managed to fill up a whole 100 feet of the pit before slowing down in its growth. They hop around attempting to reach me but fail. I form the final hand sign. Tiger. I inhale the deepest breath of my life. And I roar out in my mind. Fire style, Dragon Fire Jutsu. As the name implies, I unleashed a torrent of flames from my mouth, scorching the rabbits in its path. A collective agonized screech echoes out from most of the rabbits, as they are charred and burned alive. Some of them even melt to ashes. The beauty of this jutsu is that as long as you have chakra, you can keep channeling it. As such, for a good few seconds, I managed to melt 40 feet of those rabbits. But those extra 60 feet of them down below are still a problem. As Eiichi said, I lack the firepower and chakra to get rid of them all with just this jutsu. The pit cover is a good call. I think this through. My chakra is running extremely low at this point, and I cancel the jutsu, leaving out the toxic gas generated by it and the lack of oxygen as flames and heat spread around the rabbits themselves. Jeff, get me out of here. I roar out. At my word, the tongue pulls me out of there, launching me slightly less hard than I had instructed Jeff in the plan. I land on the ground and run towards the lid. I lift it up in an impressive feat of strength for a kid and with a huff. Bam! Slam it down and cover the hole. At that, even before I can thank Jeff for his hard work, I dismiss him, my chakra already reaching the metaphorical red. Now I guess I have to wait, I announced aloud to no one in particular. I make my way to sit beside the pit, calming down my breath and relaxing, waiting patiently for the overall result. If need be, I'll wait for multiple hours for my chakra to regenerate and use it on the leftovers. Silence, but after 15 minutes of it and Eiichi's glare on my back, a familiar feeling envelops me. A shadow was sent in my direction. I have tamed rabbit escape. I did it. With a burst of excitement, I raise my arm, a small, genuine smile lighting up my face in response to the hard-earned success. I won. I yell out to my observing party. I needed at least this to go well. Else I would have been truly pissed off. It wasn't easy learning the jutsu. It really wasn't. It was a two-step process. First, I had to master the flame resistance technique, and then I tackled this Chunin-level jutsu that drained my entire chakra reserve in a matter of seconds. All within the span of just 2 weeks. At least it was a good distraction and a way to vent my frustrations. Victory does feel good when reality slaps you with your own helplessness and weakness for a week straight. Guess Eiichi wasn't wrong about me doubting myself here. Was he? Eiichi arrives at my side, conveying his pride with a simple sentence. Well done, Akira. A small smile full of pride on his face. Wow, I could get addicted to this feeling. The hard work I had done in order to make this plan work so flawlessly, and its actual result, as well as recognition from my hardcore sensei for my efforts. I'm not starved for praise, but this is pleasant, to say the least, especially when I'm proud of my own actions and results. That'll be enough for today. Once again, well done. Eiichi praised one last time as he turned around to make his leave. I bid you farewell, Shikamaru-sama, Akira. I'll see you Saturday. Akira. I'll have to excuse myself. I have an important meeting to attend to in an hour, he added before he left. Bye, Eiichi-sensei. I waved goodbye. Thanks for the hard work, Eiichi-san. Shikamaru nodded towards him as he jumped off the branch and joined me at my side. What do you mean by hard work? I'm glad to see someone's mood has improved, Shikamaru mentioned teasingly, a smirk on his face. Buzz off. I glare at him. Well, if I knew killing a bunch of rabbits with flames was what would have improved your dampened mood, I'd have nagged you to do this earlier, Shikamaru added happily. Sigh. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm just happy my efforts proved fruitful. I sighed. Well, do you feel like talking about why you were and still are dragged this past week? Shikamaru bluntly asked, and I shook my head. No, again, I'll be fine. It's just something temporary. I just need to see Sasuke and talk to him once he's back, and I'll be fine. I hope. Troublesome. Shikamaru shrugged and dismissed the topic quickly, seemingly expecting that to be my response. As a comfortable silence enveloped us, Shikamaru broke it with a decent suggestion. Yakiniku Q. He simply suggested ham. Sure. Heh, fine. Let's go. I'll go get Choji. I respond with a smile. I got up, patted off any dirt and grime, took off my gas mask, and placed it back into the shadows. Third-person POV. As the evening sun painted the office's window with its fading hues, Eiichi sat in his chair, calmly sipping tea, engaged in a conversation with a figure of great significance in Konoha. To what do I owe the pleasure, Danzo-sama? Eiichi inquired politely, his tone laced with formality. Eiichi, please, no need for such formality, Danzo replied with an air of ease. It's been a while since we've had the chance to converse. How have you been? He added. Eiichi chuckled lightly. I've been managing, as you can see. Peace and paperwork can take a toll on these aging bones. Danzo leaned forward, getting to the heart of the matter. I'm sure you're aware of the recent tragedy that has befallen us. Eiichi raised an eyebrow, perplexed by the direction of the conversation. Indeed, but I failed to see the relevance to the Noro clan. We extend our condolences to Uchiha Sasuke and offer our full support. Danzo's smile remained unaltered. Ah, but you see, Eiichi, I'm here to discuss something rather specific. I seek your assistance in channeling funds from the Uchiha's assets into Root, as well as your support should Hiruzen decide to investigate further. He dropped a bombshell. Eiichi's eyes widened, and his expression shifted from confusion to suspicion. Danzo, what game are you playing? This request is audacious and foolish. Root, you must be out of your mind. Eiichi slammed his hand on the desk, undisturbed by Eiichi's reaction. Danzo continued to wear his enigmatic smile. I assure you, Eiichi, you'll find my proposal to be quite beneficial for the Noro clan. It's an opportunity that should not be dismissed lightly. In the moments following that sentence, keen observers would detect a distinct concentration of chakra in Danzo's right eye. Unfortunately, no wielder of the Byakugan was present in this meeting. Eiichi's demeanor shifted once more, from shock to contemplation. Very well, I will assist you in this endeavor, Danzo-sama. I trust you'll honor your word. Additionally, if this arrangement proceeds smoothly, I will stand by you should Lord Third choose to confront you. Danzo's pleasant smile widened at Eiichi's artificial change in attitude. I'm delighted that we're in agreement, Eiichi. Rest assured, this collaboration will prove even more advantageous than you anticipate. With a nod, Danzo extended his working left arm for a handshake, and Eiichi reciprocated without hesitation. On that note, for the sake of the village's continued prosperity, do you perhaps have any valuable insights or information you'd be willing to share? Danzo inquired, attempting to extract further knowledge. Eiichi nodded without hesitation and gladly provided Danzo with normally top-secret Noro-related information. But it's fine. After all, Danzo-sama is to be trusted. Danzo-sama acts for the benefit of the leaf and the Noro. Danzo-sama can be leaned on and given everything, and the end result would always be to the best of everyone's interests. Danzo-sama deserves to be the Hokage more than Lord Third. But, is that right? Morning time. 11 months and 3 weeks following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. In a familiar classroom, kids converse amongst themselves with renewed vigor as they await the arrival of their sensei to start the day, having digested and accepted the tragedy that occurred only 2 weeks ago, the more cheerful children taking a great deal of the credit for the mood's uplifting. The kids, innocent and pure, mirror the current mental state of the village. Tragedy it may have been, but they must move on. Focus on the present. Much like the kids, the adults followed quickly after, the renewed happiness of the children being the light they needed in the face of such a tragedy. Nevertheless, mourning can only last so long in a world accustomed to death. However, a somber silence envelops the once buzzing room upon the expected arrival of the last Uchiha. Sasuke passes through the door with a detached nonchalance, his face the epitome of apathy. Nervous, pitying, and worried looks follow his every step as he makes his way towards his designated seat, seemingly unperturbed by the situation as he sits down. Everyone, even those who sorely lacked tact, knew better than to approach or converse with the last Uchiha, opting to continue observing and pitying the boy from afar. Not everyone, that is. The sound of someone rising from their seat pierces through the silence, their footsteps echoing clearly. Eyes turn and widen as they notice the direction the boy is headed. Towards the last Uchiha. As the boy reaches the Uchiha can't help but raise his head and glare at his classmate, rival, friend, acquaintance, standing before him. Even he doesn't know what he would call him. But these nuances are irrelevant in regard to the sheer audacity of what the boy conveyed to the Uchiha. Akira POV. In reality, as I stand in front of Sasuke, a remnant of what he used to be, his eyes radiate not even a glimmer of his original innocence. Hell, I don't even know if this is Sasuke, with how dead those eyes are. An unrecognizable mood for the once more alive boy. But I can't blame him. Honestly, there's only one thing I wanted to tell him. No, I had to tell him. The reason behind this tactless approach towards a boy who definitely does not want anyone's company. Sasuke, I'm so sorry. I genuinely apologized, bowing at a 90-degree angle. At that moment, I heard a collective gasp from the onlookers. No response came from Sasuke, so I decided to raise my body back to his eye level to take a look, and a shiver went down my spine at the anger and hate radiating from Sasuke's now elevated glare. With gritted teeth, he seethed, "Get out of my sight. Noro. Spare me your useless pity." Another shocked gasp came from the onlookers, some even expecting a fight to start. However, having received the message, I nodded and swiftly turned, making my way back to my seat, having expected this reaction from Sasuke. But not before I whispered softly, "That wasn't pity." His wrong interpretation of my apology was logical. There was no way for him to know the true reason behind my apology. And truth be told, I'd rather it stay that way. As I made my way back with eyes watching my every move to my designated seat near Choji and Shikamaru. A look of awe appeared on Choji's face, though Shikamaru's expression clearly conveyed disappointment. "You just had to selfishly apologize to him, didn't you?" Shikamaru grumbled as I sat down. Of course, Shikamaru would be able to guess the true motivation behind my apology, though there is no way he knows why I felt like this. He's not that smart. I hope. I let out a relieved sigh and responded, "Sigh. It may have been selfish, but I needed this." Shikamaru let out an exasperated sigh and said, "Well, I guess you couldn't help yourself. That was so brave of you to give your condolences to Sasuke like that, Akira." Choji praised, his eyes shining with admiration, completely ignoring Shikamaru's contrasting perspective on my apology. He's wrong. I wouldn't pity Sasuke so bluntly. That wasn't the reason I apologized. But it's fine if he misinterprets it like that. Thanks, Choji. I easily accept his genuine admiration. I still felt judgmental looks sent my way, mostly from the Sasuke fan club girls. They already know better than to commence with verbal warfare against me. Nevertheless, it made me genuinely uncomfortable thanks to the prior situation. Thankfully, the looks stopped at the boisterous new arrival. Suddenly, a voice rang out, cutting through the tension in the room. Uzumaki Naruto has arrived. Like a siren, the blonde menace yelled out his almighty presence, completely oblivious to the current atmosphere. As you may or may not have noticed, Naruto has come to the realization that if you're a genuine nuisance, your existence cannot be ignored. Also, he is majorly credited with uplifting the mood of the class these past few weeks. His annoying presence can replace even the worst of your emotions with a desire to beat him up. And so, whether it's his peculiar attention-grabbing charisma or, more likely, his irritating aura, the entire class's mood and atmosphere changed so suddenly that it gave me whiplash. At the appearance of a much easier target to verbally abuse, the fan club attacked with vehemence. Naruto, shut up. Can't you see Sasuke is sad? One fangirl yelled out, idiot. Sakura pointed at the blonde menace. Shut up. What's with you guys? Naruto, scandalized, tried to pacify the fire he just unleashed upon himself by yelling back at them even louder. Shikamaru, with his ears already covered, couldn't help but mutter something completely out of character, though it makes sense given the situation. Where's Suzuki-sensei when you need him? He muttered in annoyance. At that moment, a small smile tugged at the corners of my lips. Strangely, it appears Naruto has come to my rescue today. Guess I owe him a favor then. 5 days later. Evening time. Sip, Aichi-sensei, I began, maintaining a respectful and slightly annoyed tone as I sat in his office, taking a sip of the premium-grade tea he'd offered. I'd like to understand why our lessons have been reduced from twice a week to just once. Unfortunately, I'll be occupied with some clan matters for the next few months. Also, this is quite a convenient opportunity, is it not? Shikaku has expressed to me his intention of personally teaching you and Shikamaru the clan's time-honored jutsu on Thursdays. He explained easily, why not teach me on another day then? And not just Thursdays and Saturdays. What? Is some clan business so important you can't spare an evening's worth of time to guide the clan's new Kekkei Genkai user? I continued, my eyes narrowed and face expressing further annoyance. At my words, his poker face formed a slight smirk. I'm pleased that you are well aware of your position, as well as abusing your importance in your favor. Indeed, what you express is correct. An evening of guiding you is much more important than some regular clan business. He agreed. Okay. Give me the punchline. But nothing. I may be busy, but Makoto is not. He will be teaching you on Fridays. Who's Makoto again? I ask at that. Aichi's smirk turns into a frown of disappointment. We've been through this, Akira. There are some individuals that are so important their existence needs to be drilled into your mind if need be. Your naive forgetfulness be damned. He shook his head. Okay. I roll my eyes at his exaggerated dramatics. Aichi relents and tiredly explains, his usually composed demeanor showing signs of fatigue. Makoto is one such individual to be recognized and remembered by his sheer proximity and relevance in the clan. Makoto is like me, one of the clan elders of the Noro. His responsibility is finance and supply chain for the Noro. Also, he is the individual from whom I source the equipment and Tsunade poisons you store in your shadows. He's also one of the few individuals aware of your Kekkei Genkai. Ah, now I remember. He's the mad lad supplier who got me all those cool toys in my shadows. I think we'd get along great. Yeah, this could work. Alright. Sounds good. Thanks for keeping me in mind, Aichi-sensei. I bow gratefully to my sensei. Do not worry, Akira. Your education is not something I will allow to be neglected. Let us make haste to the training grounds. He took a last sip of his tea as he got up. Right. At the secluded underground training ground, I stood confidently, as I wanted to show off to Eiichi some of the tricks I had in mind and practiced in the forest with Shikamaru's occasional help. And get some advice on the practicality of those tricks as well. Now, please demonstrate your progress before we begin your training. He gestured for me to begin. Okay, here's the first interesting one. But damn, did it take a long time to nail it correctly. I took off my shoes to expose my feet, much to Eiichi's confusion. I lift a foot up and bring up my hand to it. I carefully control and move my foot and toes in tandem with my hand to barely make up the shape of a shadowgraphic dog. Divine dogs, I announce as I feel a dip in my chakra. Liquid shadows move to form Nock and Mir by my side. At that, I turn to look at an impressed and contemplating Eiichi. How's that, you old coot? Fascinating. So summoning your creatures does not strictly require the use of your hands. It operates as long as you make up the rough shape of the intended shadow and the usage of your chakra. He states his observation. That's right. I thought that I'd be in big trouble were I to somehow break even one of my hands. It would render my Kekkei Genkai unusable. But it seems as long as the shape of the shadow is formed in tandem with intentional channeling of my chakra, I can summon the intended shadow creature. I nod. Have you tried testing whether you can summon your shadow creatures when someone or something else forms the shape of the intended summon? He questioned a good question. Unfortunately, the results are disappointing. Yeah. Sadly, it doesn't work if someone else does it for some reason. I tried with Shikamaru, and even when he attempted to form the shadow, the Kekkei Genkai remained unresponsive. It only works if I'm responsible for the forming of the shadow. This is what I've managed to confirm up to now. I have no idea whether it'd work if I formed the shadow using external tools. My theory is that it needs to be my body that forms the shadow for it to be registered as acceptable and eligible to be activated. I elaborate. Something to test. If that doesn't work, I'd estimate it would work with a jutsu that, whether intentionally or unintentionally, forms the shadow. Eiichi added, yeah, but I can't shape the fire jutsu I learned as I please. I stated simply. Elementary observation. Akira. For that to work, you'll have to learn shape transformation, which is a high-level technique well beyond your current level of expertise. It's something to test in the far future, my boy. Eiichi added without a hint of empathy. Shape transformation? That's a new term. Didn't hear of it in the academy as of now, so that must be some advanced shit. Guess I'll know how that works later on. Upon noticing my contemplative silence, he asked, anything else? With a raised eyebrow, of course not. Did you really think this was it? Sensei. I'd suggest keeping your distance. I warn. He wordlessly adheres to my warning and instantly moves to the edge of the training ground in a creepy feat of speed. Alright. Thanks for the help, Nock. Mir. See you soon. I dismiss Nock and Mir as I move my hands to summon my newest addition to my Akira army. The title, as always, is subject to change. Rabbit Escape. I form the shadowgraphic rabbit and suddenly out comes a swarm of rabbits. They grow madly in number until they come to a sudden stop in growth, leaving me with an army's worth of rabbits that are currently awaiting my command. Also translated into emergency food for the more creative ones. Rabbit Escape is the most unique of all the Shikigami I currently have tamed. Unlike the rest of the Shikigami, there are no consequences for killing some of the rabbits or even most of them. I can keep summoning more and more. The reason behind this? Original Whiskers. Get your ass over here. I yelled out my command so the entire swarm could hear it. Slow shuffling is heard amongst the swarm, and a lone rabbit, identical to the rest of the rabbits in the swarm, makes his way towards me, stopping in front of me. As you may or may not have guessed, the key to defeating and killing Rabbit Escape is killing the original rabbit, the one who is cloning the others. And no, there is no way to distinguish which one is the real one. Even I don't know. Only the original and the others know who the real one is. So I have to resort to asking and ordering them to bring out their leader. Anyways, about the original Whiskers. The cloning process doesn't originate from him in a sense. I suspect that he is just a canvas, a blueprint, that is required to repeatedly summon the rest when I activate the technique. If he is damaged, changed, etc., The rest of them will follow suit and copy those changes as they are created summoned. However, if a clone, for example, is told a secret before I dismiss it, the next time I summon Rabbit Escape, none of them will know of what I told the clone. Why? Because when Rabbit Escape is summoned or when new rabbits are created, the original is cloned anew. Nothing remains of the prior summoned swarm, except the original, of course. Only Whiskers himself may be taught something, and consequently, the rest are cloned with his knowledge. Fortunately, the swarm can communicate amongst themselves and coordinate mentally. However, the transfer of knowledge doesn't apply unless they explicitly tell each other. I thoroughly discovered this when I ordered the clone Whiskers to not tell the rest about the secret I conveyed to him. Nevertheless, how the cloning process works is still a mystery to me. When I activate the technique, there is a set amount of Whiskers clones that are summoned, a limit that I can't currently bypass. However, when some are destroyed, I can summon more at the cost of chakra directly from the shadows. As long as the original Whiskers is manifested, that is. As a side note, Rabbit Escape costs roughly 3 bloody times as much as Knock and Mere. Yes, an absurd cost. But, interestingly, the upkeep for them is dependent on how many rabbits there are currently manifested. Then again, renewing the numbers also consumes a significant amount of my chakra. What a pain. I need to set up a chakra generator or something at this point. Really? Thankfully, I've noticed that better proficiency in chakra usage, or better yet, chakra control, lowers somewhat the chakra drain I consistently feel when the Shikigami are manifested. I didn't notice this up to the past few days when I really focused on the drain I had. I initially believed I could maintain them longer because my chakra capacity grew. Which is true, but that wasn't the only reason, apparently. However, the initial base cost when summoning them seems to be static and unchangeable. To end it off, I named the original Rabbit Whiskers. I know, an ingenious name. Ahem. Monologue over. On to the demonstration. Whiskers. Initiate the Whiskers kamikaze attack on that dummy. I order as I suddenly pull out an explosive tag from my shadows, channeling chakra into it, throwing it in the air and pointing at a dummy. At that, original Whiskers backs off to safety whilst he orders the closest clone to grab the airborne tag. The signaled clone without hesitation hops and grabs the tag in its mouth, hopping quickly towards the dummy. Upon arrival near the dummy, a second passes and then, boom! The Whiskers clone explodes into a bloody and gory mess. The dummy, of course, was damaged heavily by that explosion. Did I mention these rabbits are seriously hardcore? Having gotten used to gory messes in this life, especially rabbit-sourced gory messes, I, unperturbed by the sight, turned to look at Eiichi from afar to gauge his reaction. A fine tactic. He praises me with a hint of admiration in his voice as he appears by my side, which doesn't scare me anymore. Of freaking course it's a fine tactic. It's genius. Why didn't Megumi attach C4 to his rabbits or anything offensive, really? Don't answer that question. My point is, these things have so much potential. From that kamikaze Whiskers maneuver, the Whisker support team maneuver, and much more. Thankfully, I've drilled into the original Whiskers the importance of his life and how he should never get into combat. You know, he dies, and there goes the whole Shikigami. Nevertheless, I have a literal army of cloning rabbits, in tandem with a deadly arsenal of mostly poisons and gases. Do you see where I'm going with this? Because I definitely do. Alright, thank you, Whiskers, for the demonstration. I'll see you later. I nod at the swarm, the original Whiskers having hidden himself amongst them prior to the explosion. I dismiss them, as the entire swarm melts in front of me, freeing up a lot of space in the training ground, leaving me and Eiichi alone once again. Before we begin, I have a gift for you. Eiichi added after a moment. Nice. I wonder what it is. His gifts are usually of the more deadly kind. Just as I had that thought, he retrieved a storage scroll and unsealed it with a puff of smoke. As the smoke began to disperse, I pondered what it could be. Poison? Gas? Sword? Explosives? Finally, the smoke dispersed, granting me a clear sight of a literal pile of books. Curses. Eiichi gave me the deadliest of all weapons. Bloody books. Jokes aside, What the hell is this? Aichi. What are those books? I pointed towards the books in a deadpan, grabbed one and read out its title. You tell me. He said with a hint of humor and mystery. This guy really can't decide whether he wants to be a mischievous sensei or a stone-faced one. Okay. I agree with a hint of suspicion as I approach the stack of books to grab the first one that stands out to me. I grab it and read out its title aloud. Assassination Basics, authored by an ex-Anbu captain. Clearance level tune-in. I see. An intriguing first sample, truly. Let's see the next book. I carefully lower the first book I took, proceeding to grab the second one that stood out to me. Human organs, vitals, pressure points, and more. The resourceful method to dispatch your enemy. Clearance level, Genin. Ominous much. I'm sensing a theme here. I'll check out 2 more just in case. I grab a third book. Assassination Intermediate. Authored by an ex-Anbu captain. Clearance level, Jonin. Nice. A damn sequel. In case I didn't get enough from the first one. Okay. Last one. Just in case. I grab a fourth book to test my already confirmed theory, but I'd like to be delusional sometimes. The Art of Seduction and Persuasion. A shinobi's way of information extraction, coercion, seduction, and more. Clearance level, tune-in. Marvelous. Give a 7-year-old a book on seduction. Why won't you? Well, I guess I'm doing this now. I've learned over this year to not question how Eiichi gets this clearly confidential and/or illegal material that I'm definitely not supposed to have. You know, Jonin clearance level and all. Which I'm definitely not. I'll guess what he's trying to do here. Books on assassination, information gathering, etc. Do you want me to enroll in the ANBU or something? I hazard a guess at his intentions as I return the fourth book to its spot in the pile. Eiichi shakes his head and imparts his seasoned wisdom. Your assessment is intriguing, but there's a deeper layer to it. We hold you in high regard. Too much to enlist you in the ANBU. After a thorough examination of your Kekkei Genkai and your current capabilities, it's clear that your forte lies in assassination. While your chakra reserves are above average for a Noro your age, they're still limited. Therefore, it's crucial to employ them judiciously. Instead of squandering your resources on flashy jutsu, your best approach is to swiftly and discreetly conclude battles, much like an assassin would. Take time to study your adversaries, identify their vulnerabilities, and use your skills prudently to eliminate them without unnecessary commotion. I took a moment to digest his explanation. I see what he means. I also felt that would be the best way for me to operate. Ever since I initially tested the 10 shadows, I knew it would be a matter of resource management with my chakra and the Shikigami themselves. It will always be a matter of correct judgment with my chakra taken into account. Each situation I could find myself in may have a response, and it'll mostly be a question of what's the best response in terms of chakra management. Will this Shikigami suffice? Will I need multiple Shikigami to do this faster and conserve more chakra than the usage of one Shikigami? Will a jutsu be more cost-effective for this situation? Ideally. Can I solve this without a single waste of chakra? Through combat proficiency alone? What about using my words and avoiding a battle altogether? All questions I will need to process at lightning speed given the real-time intense scenarios I will hopefully not find myself in. I understand your intention, but as much as theoretical knowledge is nice, how will I go about putting this knowledge into practice? I question further, meeting the eyes of my sensei, a conflicted expression plastered on my face. Putting this knowledge into practice means literal on-field coercion and assassination. Not something I'm too keen on. But I've known for years this will eventually come. If I have to, I'll do it. As long as I don't take innocent lives. Upon hearing my question and noticing my conflicted expression, Eiichi read me like a book. No pun intended. Why that crestfallen look, my boy? No need to fret. I'm not dispatching you on assassination missions just yet. Remember, you're still in your first year at the academy, so time is on your side. Your primary objective is to establish a robust foundation and master the basics. Begin by devouring the content in these books, starting with the Genin level ones and working your way up to the Jonin materials. Apply what you learn through practical exercises, whether it's honing your persuasion skills in interactions with others or refining your combat techniques on lifelike training dummies. Delve into the theories and allow them to reshape your mindset and approach to combat. That's the essence of it. I won't personally instruct you in assassination techniques, as it's not my specialty. This is a self-directed study area for you, and should you prove your worth, I'll arrange for a suitable tutor in due time. Naturally, if you encounter any queries about the material, don't hesitate to reach out to me or even Shikaku. He explained, providing a comprehensive clarification. I took a moment to digest his explanation and proceeded to narrow my eyes at him. Ichi-sensei, you're contradicting yourself. You say I'm too important to enroll in the ANBU, yet you hint at the future prospect of me being sent to do assassination missions. I express. The ANBU have no filter as to what missions they partake in. I, however, can direct you into safer and more manageable assassination missions that would prove to be a practical learning experience for you. He replied, wait a damn minute. What do you mean, assassination missions? Aren't the Hokage and the Chunin at the mission desk the only ones with the authority to delegate missions to shinobi in the village? I ask with slight nervousness. He gives a small smile at my question as he responds. Good thinking. However, there are many ways to obtain missions, some directly from the clients without the village's jurisdiction, which is highly illegal for shinobi, and many other methods I won't be getting into detail about at this time. We will be using an old Uchiha method that was used to teach their young about missions. How does he know of Uchiha-related methods? It is simple. The shinobi accepts a mission from the Hokage or mission desk and proceeds to take their young with them to the mission to teach them and so on. Sometimes, they even accept the mission in name only, sending out the child to complete the mission completely on their own. He finished his point. Damn. I knew Eiichi was a sly old bastard. But this is some next-level stuff. All that to make me stronger and more experienced? I approve. Heh, alright, Eiichi-sensei. Sounds good to me. Thank you. I smirk at him as I give him a thumbs up in approval. Don't mention it. Now then, take the scroll, and let's begin. He says easily as he seals the books back into the storage scroll, handing it out to me. Alright. I nod as I grab the book-filled storage scroll and shove it into my shadow storage. Noon time. 1 year following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. The academy training grounds buzzed with excitement and a subtle undercurrent of competitiveness, a familiar scene whenever sparring sessions took place. However, today, the atmosphere felt charged with an unusual intensity. What was the cause of this heightened anticipation? The answer was straightforward. It was the end-of-year evaluation, the final test before the students advanced to the next year of their academy training. The students were driven by a burning desire to demonstrate their growth, to showcase their progress, and to potentially secure their positions as the top performers in the class. In all honesty, most of them understood that the top 2 ranks were likely already claimed and sealed. But some can't help but be hopeful. And some individuals simply refuse to acknowledge the concept of giving up in their vocabulary. And it is rather poetic that this is the first spar. Akira POV. Crunch. I took a bite from the chips Choji offered me as I patiently awaited the start of the first spar. I know, eating before a battle isn't the smartest of decisions. But I'm confident that unless it's Sasuke, I'll be fine either way. So I might as well enjoy the show, you know? Though for Choji, this isn't the smartest decision. Choji, are you sure you should be eating before a spar? I know it might seem hypocritical of me, but, you know. I glance at the boy beside me. I didn't eat at all today. I can't fight on an empty stomach. Crunch. Choji responded downtrodden, his head lowered, sharing his food even when he's starving. Classic Choji. Now I feel bad that I'm taking some of it anyways. Well, it's your call. Just try not to vomit. I caution him with a grin. Don't worry. He nodded as he took another mouthful of chips. As our conversation was taking place, the announcement call for the first spar echoed through the training ground. Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke. Please come to the circle. Suzuki-sensei announced with excitement, probably at getting a vacation or something after this. Oh, this is going to be good. Crunch. I state yeah. What's taking Shikamaru so long to come back from the bathroom? He can't be missing this. Choji agrees, posing an elementary question as he looks at me. TSK, Choji, my good friend. You see, there are essentially two scenarios at play here. Either his grappling with a bout of post-dango distress from yesterday, or his masterfully evading the evaluation altogether, I remark sagely, accompanied by a playful finger shake. I see. His avoiding the evaluation. Choji narrows his eyes into a contemplating expression, as he thinks for a moment and arrives at the likely correct assumption. But, Akira, wouldn't he be required to repeat a year if he misses this evaluation? Choji added. Choji, my naive friend, Shikamaru is far too important to be forced into staying a year in the academy, and the lazy pineapple knows that very well and is completely abusing that fact. How do I convey that to my pure-hearted friend here without corrupting his perception of equality amongst status? Of course, the solution is to lie. You see, he'll be forced to do it during the 2-week break period we get between the academy years. So don't worry. Even if he misses this, he'll be fine. Oh, would you look at that, they're starting. I fabricate the story without hesitation and steer the conversation back to the intriguing matchup happening at that moment. Are both of you ready? Suzuki-sensei asked the signature question, HN. Sasuke nodded dismissively, barely registering Naruto's existence. Yeah, I'll take you down, Sasuke team. Naruto retorted, clearly not pleased with Sasuke's arrogance and dismissive attitude. His eyes narrowed, resembling those of a feral cat. Begin. Suzuki announced and the spar began. Sensei, declare my victory, Sasuke ordered coldly as he restrained Naruto on the ground, his fist hovering inches from Naruto's face. Suzuki-sensei, in classic fashion, ignored Naruto's situation completely until Sasuke reminded him. Enough. Winner. Uchiha Sasuke. Well done, Sasuke. He nodded and gestured for them to disengage and form the seal of reconciliation. Naruto looks like the perfect combination of frustrated, sad, and livid at the result of this spar. That was quite the intense fight, I'm not gonna lie, but nevertheless it looked effortless for Sasuke. But, am I imagining things? In the last few spars he's participated in, even though they appeared effortless, he's been somewhat sloppy. His mind appeared distracted, as if not fully engaged in the battle. While I can understand the reasons behind it, if we were to spar right now, I'd win. Is that the type of victory I was looking for, though? Sure, I do like easy-won victories, but that is that, and this is this. The final evaluation every year has a tournament-based sparring system, apparently to get us accustomed to the eventual Chunin exam finals they hope all of us will eventually participate in when we are proper genin. Since, you know, Chunin is the rank at which you are not considered as mere cannon fodder. Nevertheless, my point is that I'll have to fight Sasuke today. I don't think a victory over him in his current state is what I really want. Akimichi Choji, Inuzuka Kiba. Approach the circle. After securing victories against Ino, Shino, and Ren, I await my next match, which happens to be against Sasuke in the semifinals. Please do not ask how the match against Ino went. It's going straight into the trauma collection. And it's staying there, indefinitely. Suffice it to say I won with much struggle. Anyways, I proceed to hear a call for Choji's next match, having won his previous one against a civilian kid pretty easily. As a fun fact, Choji is physically stronger than me, despite my training. Guess he's just built different. They both arrive at the circle and Suzuki asks, "Are both of you ready?" Is he an NPC with how unchangeable his dialogue seems to be? God. When does Iruka arrive? That guy supposedly has a personality. Yay, yup. They respond simultaneously. Then, begin. He signals the start of the spar, but Choji and Kiba lock eyes, assessing each other. Until, what's wrong, fatty? Scared? Kiba taunts with a smug tone. Oh, what did you call me? Choji asked in a low, threatening, and scary tone, sending shivers down my spine. His eyes narrowed in complete focus at the Inuzuka air. The oblivious Inuzuka, unknowingly awakening a monster, widens his smug smile as he repeats, "Can't you hear straight? I called you fatty hair. Man, he's dead. Who are you calling fat? I'm just a little chubby." He exclaims indignantly as he swiftly closes the distance between himself and Kiba, moving with a speed that even the yellow flash would find challenging to match. What? Kiba stuttered, and his eyes widened at the sudden appearance of Choji within punching distance. Bam! Choji sent Kiba literally flying in the air with a punch square in the jaw, a few spins to exaggerate just how hard he got hit. Slam! The dog boy landed on the hard ground, thoroughly unconscious. At that, the crowd goes completely silent and a bit frightened. A lesson was taught that day. Never call Choji fat. Enough. Winner. Akimichi Choji. Someone escort Inuzuka-san to Nurse Yumi, he declared, sighing at the prospect of sending another student to the nurse's office. Probably afraid of getting an earful from Nurse Yumi. She is a scary lady. Not comparable to Auntie, though. She's definitely the final boss of all scary ladies out there. After numerous spars, we reached the semifinals. The matches are me versus Sasuke and Choji versus Sakura. Yes, Pinky somehow lucked out from all the tough matchups and won the easy ones. She's pretty half decent at this point. Akira, how do you think Sakura won all those spars? Choji asks, trying to get to know his opponent. Ah, a wise move, Choji-san. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. I believe she used her comically large forehead to her advantage, reflecting sunlight to blind her opponents, giving her ample opportunity to take down her enemy. I suggest getting sunglasses to counter her strategy. Also, I conveniently have some in my pocket at this very moment. I stroke my imaginary beard as I pull out sunglasses from my pocket shadows, making it look like it was always there. Here, use these. I make eye contact with Choji, nodding seriously as I hand out the sunglasses to him as if they were a legendary blade. What? Did you think I only had dangerous stuff in there? I have some day-to-day convenient stuff as well. Most of the heavier stuff is stored in storage scrolls since they do not need to be immediately used when it's not a combat-related situation. Praise be to the 10 shadows. Sniff. Thanks, Akira. I'll use these. He tears up as he grabs the sunglasses, giving me his hand for a manly handshake. Innocently believing my words. Anytime, my friend. I smile with tears of my own, reciprocating the firm handshake. Akimichi Choji, Haruno Sakura, please approach the circle. Suzuki announced the first battle of the semifinals. Good luck. I offer some encouragement. Thanks. He nodded and donned his anti-Sakura sunglasses. As he approached the circle, whispers and murmurs about the purpose of his sunglasses rippled through the spectators. They will never know of my ingenuity. But I'm freaking hilarious. Though I do feel a tad bad about tricking Choji like this. At least he looks stylish. As both Sakura and Choji arrive at the circle, Suzuki asks the signature question, "Are both of you ready?" Yes, of course. They respond simultaneously. He nods at their agreement and signals the beginning of the battle. Begin. Suddenly, Sakura's body language shifts to a frail and trembling demeanor. She begins to cry. Choji, I don't want to fight. I can't. I want to give up. She whimpers in front of him. No, she wouldn't. What? Sakura. Choji's eyes behind the sunglasses widen in worry as he slowly approaches her to comfort her, nearly reaching her side. I take a deep breath and yell out, Choji, don't fall for it. She's tricking you. At my yell, Choji turns to look at me as he hesitantly responds, but she's crying. Seemingly having reached his own conclusion, he dumbly ignores my advice as he reaches Sakura and places a placating hand on her shoulder. Sakura, it'll be alright. I'll go easy on you, Gar. As he was placating her, she mercilessly and brutally kneed him in the bloody chin, sending the kind and naive boy flying, hitting the ground, and cracking my brand new sunglasses. 2 losses in 1. Choji, however, wasn't knocked out by Sakura, as he sluggishly tried to get up, but the feral girl was already within striking distance again. She was about to kick him in the face whilst he was still getting up, but was stopped by Suzuki's announcement. Enough. Winner. Haruno Sakura. Good work, the both of you. Akimichi-san, next time, do not fall for such easy and obvious tricks. Do you need to see the nurse? Alright. No, I'll be fine. He sluggishly got up and responded. He made his way back towards me with a downtrodden expression. Are you good? Are you sure you're not hurt? No need to put on a brave front if she cracked your chin or something. I asked in worry. Yeah, I'm okay. She didn't hit me too hard. I'm just sad I lost like that. I really thought she was crying. Again, next time, just observe carefully. Don't focus on the fact she's crying. Look at the reason why she is crying. Such a sudden outburst was way too obvious. A lesson for next time. All right? I lectured all right. He nodded with a small smile. Don't worry. I'll get her for you. I announced happily. Hem? You think you'll beat Sasuke this time? He throws me a look of skepticism. Ah, how your doubt wounds me. Yeah, I'll win. So bet on me. Okay. He isn't going to bet a dime on me, is he? Uchiha Sasuke. Noro Akira. Please come to the circle. Suzuki announced the most anticipated match of the day. Talks and bets were already starting to burst out at the call of my match with Sasuke. Once again, the bets were all placed against me. Well, hope they don't hate me when I make them lose all their Rio. Wish me luck. I wave at Choji as I make my way towards the circle. Good luck. He waves back, a little bit of hesitation leaking out of his nervous smile, a hint of his lack of confidence in me winning here. I arrive at the circle with Sasuke in front of me. Are both of you ready? Suzuki asks with a hint of anticipation, always having enjoyed being a front row seat viewer of my and Sasuke's spars. Let's get this over with. I nod. HN. Sasuke grunts his agreement. Then, begin. Suzuki signals the beginning of the much-anticipated spar. I take a look at him and we meet eyes. Onyx meets green, as my eyes narrow in challenge. However, unlike our previous spars, he isn't looking at me. Sure, he's making eye contact, but it's as if he's looking somewhere else. There is no passion, purpose, in his glance. Hell, he hasn't even gotten into a proper stance. I barely register in his eyes. That's the message I'm getting here. If that's the case, I'll do him a favor and wake him up to reality. Will I enjoy this victory? With Sasuke being this sloppy lately? Probably not. Will I enjoy this spar? Yes. A bloodthirsty grin forms on my face as I charge towards Sasuke, neglecting my defensive Noro clan taijutsu stance. Sasuke's eyes narrow in surprise as I close the distance in an instant, launching a punch at his face with my right hand. What, Sasuke? Did you forget what I'm capable of? I taunt as he barely manages to block my punch with his left elbow. At my statement, his teeth grit as he attempts to get me to back off with a kick to the left side of my abdominal area. Sloppy. I slide a bit to the side to dodge the kick. I retract my hand and as his leg is still in the air, I lock it between my left armpit and chest. I tighten my muscles and twist my body with his leg being grabbed with an impressive feat of strength, causing him to stagger and fall. Gah! He yells out as his head hits the ground, his leg still being tightly held between my left armpit. Rah! He yells out in anger as he tries to kick me hard with his available left leg. But as he throws that kick, I move. I begin to spin. Fast. His head was dragged across the hard ground and his kick completely missed. As I spin, causing the onlookers and Sasuke to probably get dizzy, I release the hold on Sasuke's leg. Up we go. I cheerfully announce, launching Sasuke a fair distance before he crashes on the ground. The crowd goes completely silent in shock as they watch the aftermath. Most worried that they will lose their Rio to the single individual who bet on me. The others, the fangirls, worried about Sasuke's health. Boo! Boo! Collective booing began, expectedly. "Oh, shut up. He isn't down yet." I yell out at the shitty crowd, directing my attention at the absolutely livid Uchiha. I meet his eyes once again. And this time, he's looking at me. His eyes narrowed in complete and utter rage and hate. Good. He's acknowledged me. Now, the real fun begins. "Good afternoon, Sasuke. Happy you are back with us. We've missed you." I taunt with a confident and yet bloodthirsty grin. I get into a proper stance myself this time. "Come." I gesture. He complied, his expression showing genuine concentration, as he launched himself at me to begin our second round. A flurry of punches and kicks was thrown at each and every part of my body. A punch to the face, blocked. A kick to the gut, evaded. A grab attempt, evaded. I blocked and dodged all of them, except one that hit my right pectoral muscle. It wasn't too hard, but a lot of those wouldn't be good. I proceeded to kick him to create some distance, as he also needed to take a breather. He had me completely on the defensive there. He was really relentless. No counterattack opportunity. Phew. Okay. That must have taken a lot out of him. I inhale a deep breath and plan out my next moves here. He knows well that he can't use his prior tactic of attacking me whilst distracted. He almost lost last time. It's good he remembers. Anyways though, does the environment provide me with any advantages here? I carefully scan the battlefield with one eye, whilst keeping a close eye on the heavily breathing Uchiha with the other eye. No good. It was made completely even leveled and flat for the sparring area. What are my other options? Damn it. I straighten myself up, and I begin to slowly walk towards Sasuke, my guard completely down. Confusion spreads amongst the crowd, but I have no care for that. What I do care about is Sasuke's confusion. His eyes narrow to slits as he tightens his guard and stance, going completely defensive at my approach. He knows I'm a wild card in battle, but he won't be expecting this. If this doesn't work, I've got a backup. As I am about to reach an arm's length of distance between us, suddenly, to everyone's surprise, and even Sasuke's, I slip. Whoa! I yell out in surprise, my body airborne. I am about to land face first on the ground. From taking a slight look at Sasuke, his guard lowers at the absurd event. Perfect. My hands land before my head, and I, in an impressive feat of dexterity, twist my body forward and kick Sasuke in the belly incredibly hard with both my legs, coupled with the explosive velocity I threw it with. Gah! He yells out in sheer pain. His body was flung a considerable distance, and he crashed onto his back. I got up and made my way towards him as he sluggishly got up to his knees. As I was about to continue to phase 2 of my plan, he puked on the ground, causing me to back off and subsequently for Sensei to that's enough. Winner. Noro Akira. Good work, the both of you. Hyuga-san, take Uchiha-san to the nurse. He is in no condition to form the seal of reconciliation, so you may leave the circle, Noro-san. He announced in slight shock as he got into his professional mode and told Hinata to go help Sasuke. The crowd roars out in outrage, with many booing and complaining at the unexpected result of their dear Sasuke-kun losing. And the loss incurred by betting, of course. I ignored those completely since I realized something. I won. That was nice. Fun even. I smiled as I took a look at Sasuke, and my face and happiness quickly transitioned to concern. Not because he was puking. This was a normal event in sparring if you get hit hard enough. No. What bothered me and twisted me in the stomach was his reaction. Tears came out of the 7-year-old Uchiha. A weak voice came out of him, barely registered as, "I'm too weak." He whimpered as Hinata lent him a shoulder and slowly took off with him toward the nurse. I remained there, utterly stunned. What a tasteless victory. A moment of silence, at least for me, passes, and then, Noro-san? You may return to the others. Suzuki-sensei breaks me out of my shock. No. Start the next match. I request. His eyes narrow dangerously at my audacity, but thankfully he concedes and announces, "Haruno Sakura, please come to the circle." Those who were near Sakura at that moment could hear an audible gulp at that announcement, but nevertheless, she made her way to the circle. My eyes are met with a sweating and nervous Sakura, who is just a moment away from breaking down crying. She turns to meet her eyes with my own. I glare at her, causing her to shiver in fear. "S-sensei. I give up. Please." She pleads with Suzuki. Unlike the regular Chunin exams, at the final tests every year at the academy, for the sake of accurate and proper evaluation, giving up isn't allowed. But, in circumstances where the result is obvious, and the situation calls for it, the sensei may allow for resignation. Which he did. For Sakura's health at least. Sigh. Winner. Noro Akira. Congratulations. He congratulated me tiredly and with a slight relief in his tone. At all of this having been done and dusted. I guess. That's it? Isn't it? I've cemented myself as the strongest in my class. How anticlimactic. Evening time. Third person POV. In Nurse Yumi's office, Sasuke lay on the soft bed, trembling and whimpering, the fresh wounds on his spirit reopening with each passing moment. Nurse Yumi's treatment had an unexpected effect on him. It soothed his body but tormented his soul. The medical ninjutsu she applied was meant to heal physical injuries, not the emotional scars that ran deeper. As Nurse Yumi worked, she couldn't help but pity the young boy. Her gaze, filled with compassion or, more biasedly, pity, rested upon him. Sasuke despised that look. He had come to loathe it in such a short time. It seemed to follow him everywhere, a grim reminder of his own weakness and helplessness. He wished that their well-intentioned pity could bring back his parents, his clan. Why? Why was I the only one to survive? The unspoken question echoed in his mind. Minutes passed, and the trembling gradually subsided, though his spirit was far from healed. It was as if time and the fleeting nature of emotions had provided only temporary bandages for his wounded soul. Sasuke had failed to notice Nurse Yumi's occasional gestures of kindness, like wiping away the tears that flowed from his eyes. Nurse Yumi's voice signaled the end of the healing session, bringing Sasuke back to reality. "There you go, Uchiha-san. You should stick to soft foods for a few days. You took quite a hit," she said gently, her face adorned with a small, compassionate smile as she withdrew her hands from his abdomen. Sasuke found her kindness irritating, as it radiated pity that he couldn't stand. He clenched his jaw but managed a response, recognizing that he had once known kindness and could not completely reject it. "Echen," he grunted, giving her a small nod in acknowledgement. "Great. I'll be right back." Nurse Yumi's cheerful voice filled the room as she left to fetch his dinner. Finally, alone in the nurse's office, Sasuke felt a sense of relief. He craved peace and quiet, even if just for a moment. His onyx eyes stared up at the white ceiling, and with a rough exhale, he let out the pain and exhaustion that had been plaguing him, his emotions laid bare in that single expression. And quite literally, Sasuke's moment of peace lasted for a moment, as he heard mumblings behind the door to the nurse's office. He could barely make out their muffled voices. "Akira, this is the place, right?" A tired tone of voice. "Akira." Sasuke thought for a moment before realization hit him. An expression of hatred was plastered on his face as he glared at the door. Nor Akira dared to pity him, to apologize to him, to defeat him, remind him of his own weakness. How could Sasuke Uchiha hope to avenge his clan when a Nora nobody could best him? You know, just from that question alone, anyone can tell you've never sparred at the academy, Shika. I mean, a year without? That's damn impressive. And stupid. A deadpan response from Akira was delivered to the reluctant now named Shikamaru. "Guys, I think he can hear you." A third voice chimed in. Even a social recluse like Sasuke could deduce the identity of the third voice. It was Choji, of course. Sasuke maintained his unwavering glare at the conversing trio just beyond his door. Akira POV. "Okay. Remind me why both of you dragged me here. I probably would have come on my own," I whispered as I probed my friends. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. "I can't handle another one of your depressive episodes. Resolve your issues with him, And that's that. I'm also here to ensure you don't say or do anything stupid, he whispered back. Understandable. But what about Choji? As I contemplated this, I cast a questioning glance at Choji, who innocently shrugged in response, answering the unspoken query. I thought we could invite Sasuke to Ichiraku. Dad told me that the best way for men to reconcile after a fight is to share a meal. His tone was confident and self-assured. Indeed, Choza is a wise man. Under normal circumstances, this would have been a fantastic idea. However, Choji, I think inviting the defeated party to a victory celebration of the victorious is something even the most tongue-lashing of the Warring States-era warlords would have found a most impressive insult. I expressed gently, with a hush, the issue with his suggestion. Oh. Choji visibly deflated. Shit. Well, there is a pivot here. Actually, Choji, we won't explicitly frame it as a victory celebration. We'll just call it a casual outing. I coughed and whispered enthusiastically, witnessing life returning to my Akimichi friend's eyes. Perfect. That's settled. All right, I'm going in. I'll invite him to join us at Ichiraku if all goes well, I whispered the mission parameters. Hurry up. We are burning daylight. Shikamaru expressed in monotone. Shut up, Baldy. Don't rush me. I pointed a finger at him, deciding to disregard his raised eyebrow as I entered the nurse's office, causing the door to creak open. It's quite the nostalgic place, I'll admit. A place of recuperation and frustration, arriving here after every embarrassing defeat at the hands of the Uchiha, who is now ironically in my former position. How the turntables, you smug bastard, is what I would say if he didn't break down like that. Ah. Stop. You've got to help the kid. At least as a repayment for what I didn't do for him. I surveyed the room, and a chill ran down my spine as my gaze settled on the currently injured Uchiha, glaring at me with intense hostility. I suppose I deserve that much. Frowning, I took measured steps, my green eyes locking onto his onyx ones as I approached with determination. Stay away, he hissed at me venomously. He can't harm me. And even if he could, that would be acceptable. Even deserving. A few more steps, and I stood just 3 feet away from him. Sasuke's eyes widened, and he exclaimed, "Stay away. I don't need your pity. I don't need your apologies. Leave me alone." His voice cracked at the shout, but my expression remained unchanged. It wasn't a look of sadness or pity. No, if it were, it would have been better if I had stayed away. I needed to communicate with him in his own language, on his terms. To impart something fundamental that I, myself, was still grappling with. A sentence that I hoped would guide both his and my life moving forward. As I arrive at arm's length beside him, I mutter dead seriously, I know it seems ironic when it comes from me, but, beyond guilt, Sasuke, lies strength. At that, Sasuke transitions from a furious and shaking figure to a bewildered and confused one. He narrows his eyes at me as I patiently await his response. What do you mean by that? He demanded an answer at that. My head tilted a little as I contemplated how to put it into a proper and fancy sentence that wouldn't get me chewed out by Shikamaru later. Damn it. What it means is real simple. You seek strength, do you not? I already know his answer. Yes. He answered with such conviction that it got me to sweat a little. Here's the punchline. Then, quit moping around in your angst and survivor's guilt. It won't be getting you anywhere. Accept it and move on with your life. I finish my explanation bluntly in a less serious situation. I'd cringe at the irony of this statement. At that, an uncomfortable silence enveloped me. The barely heard mutter of idiot came from behind the door, knowing I'd probably be getting an earful from the more sensible of us, Nora. Truthfully, I expected an outburst, rage, strikes, anything really. But Sasuke lowering his head and falling into a contemplative silence was not one of them. I dared not to move even a muscle. I stood for what seemed like an eternity but was more like 5 minutes before Sasuke raised his head back to meet my eyes with a new determination? That got through to him? Really? Sorry for my outburst. He whispered in a far more composed, relieved tone. My confusion must have been visible on my face at his change of attitude. So I collected myself and decided to not look a gift horse in the mouth. It's okay. I asked myself more than anything, damn it. Akira. Calm and cool. Paragon of tranquility. Remember the books. Ahem. I mean, it's fine. Say, we're going to Ichiraku's right about now. Would you like to join? I ask with a friendly smile, switching my expression in an expert motion. A flash of consideration passed through Sasuke's face as he proceeded to shake his head. Well, that was an expected outcome. Only to be surprised by him following it up with, I agreed to eat the dinner the nurse will bring. Maybe next time. He nodded in gratitude at the invitation. To my utter bewilderment, it's like he's a different person. What the hell did I just tell him? Alright, get better quick, Sasuke. Who else could give me a real fight at the academy? I smirked in challenge, to which he narrowed his eyes and gave a short nod and smug smirk. It was a lucky shot. Your losing streak returns now. He bantered. Now he's just plain creeping me out. I'm going to be leaving now. Yeah, sire, Sasuke. I left, waving goodbye to Sasuke. As I exit the door, I am left with the sight of a bewildered Shikamaru and Choji. Yeah, I agree. What the hell kind of instant character development was that whole ordeal? Welp, if it works, it works. Oi, idiots. Let's go get some food. I tapped their shoulder, breaking them out of their stupor, a wide smile on my face at this going much better than anticipated. Today's just your day, Akira. Shikamaru teased, shaking his head in helplessness. Correct. So let's not linger here any longer. Time to celebrate. Chop, chop. I push him away. Choji chuckled as he followed us as I pushed Shikamaru's slow walk forward. As we made our way out of the building, upon noticing that the coast was clear of any Akira-related disturbances, the Sasuke fan club made their presence known as they tiptoed towards the nurse's room. With that, one of Sasuke's greatest life regrets was formed. The regret of not having accepted Akira's invitation, despite deciding to be polite and await the nurse's arrival. It was also rather unfortunate that the nurse arrived only in the aftermath of the fan club's rampage. We shall not go into detail as to what occurred, but suffice it to say Sasuke Uchiha has another target for his revenge. Evening time. 1 year and 1 week following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. In the backyard of the Noro clan head household, the men of the house were having a rare and quite ceremonious bonding time. The passing down of the secret clan technique, the Yin release shadow bind technique. Akira POV. Now this is odd. Initially, when I thought we'd be learning the clan technique, I expected the immediate shadow possession jutsu. Apparently, we are learning the shadow bind jutsu prior to that one. As demonstrated by my dear uncle here, it is simply intended to restrict the target's movements. Starkly different than the shadow possession jutsu, which causes the target to imitate your own movements. My educated guess here is this is a step-by-step process, where we first learn to restrict our opponent's moves, and then we learn how to get them to imitate us. However, my real issue is much more straightforward than that. As I formed the hand signs and channeled the jutsu as taught by my uncle, my shadow began to move towards Shikamaru as expected. My face twisted in concentration and effort. But then, the shadow began to spasm erratically, causing me to lose control of it. Cancel the jutsu, Akira. Uncle ordered. Just a second. I got it. I retorted as I refocused, regaining slight control of the spasming shadow and commanding it to move towards Shikamaru once again, only for it to spasm once again a few inches from reaching him, completing the jutsu. Oh, for hell's sake. I reluctantly and frustratingly cancel the jutsu. What a pain. I lower my head, downtrodden. I hear a step taken towards me and feel a hand on my shoulder. I bring my head back up to see a faux sad Shikamaru. That's rough, buddy. He shook his head. Patience Akira, the pineapple gremlin, will pay for his transgressions. It seems he knows better, as he took a few steps back to not be within my striking range. You fool. Jeff could still grab you. Uncle chuckled at my infuriated expression. Well, Akira, you can't win them all. Though I've never seen such a lack of talent for shadow bind jutsu. Is there a problem because of your Kekkei Genkai perhaps? Ouch. Talk about straightforward. Well, he's unfortunately correct in his assumption. I sighed. Yeah, the shadows I use with my Kekkei Genkai feel totally different to control. I'm used to them instinctively, but when I try to control these jutsu shadows, it's like trying to use a completely different set of controls. It's all messed up because I keep trying to use my Kekkei Genkai instincts. Your Kekkei Genkai is not exactly control and movement of shadows, is it? How would such a difference in control come to be? He probes. To be frank with you, I have no idea. It might be my brain having been used to seeing shadows and controlling them, in my case moving in and out of shadows as well as summoning creatures, as fundamentally the same as trying to move them with this jutsu. I responded, scratching the back of my head. I see. He mutters, considering my explanation. Uncle's face contemplates for a moment and then clears. Sorry, Akira, since you're the first case, I can't really advise you on this besides practicing harder and longer. Usually, failure of the jutsu is caused by a lack of chakra or abysmal chakra control. Neither is the cause behind your failure, he says apologetically. Yeah, I figured. Do you think this is a lost cause? I inquire, trying to gauge if he believes I'm hopeless. What? Here's the professional. Wasted time and effort is wasted time and effort. If I really can't do it, I can't do it. Better to apply the extra time on my dispatching training, in that case, and attempting to get free stuff from store owners. Really, I don't even need those guides on how to persuade others. It's really easy when you are like 7. You get what you want if you're cute enough, halo effect and whatnot. And not to toot my own horn here, but damn, I'm one handsome 7-year-old. Shikaku's response to my prior question broke me out of my self-appreciative thoughts. No, if it is, as you say, a difference in controls, you must adapt to the new set of controls. The jutsu performance may be considerably harder for you than for others, but once you master it, it should become second nature. The learning process may just take longer, considerably longer from what I'm seeing. He shook his head. He followed up with, for now, keep at it. Once you manage to stretch it for 16 feet as well as hold it steady for a minute, you'll be able to move on with your training. For now, I'll be teaching Shikamaru shadow possession. If you couldn't tell, Shikamaru nailed it on the first try, without a sweat of effort. My god, what a broken character. Please, nerf. Ugh. Fine, I'm on it. I grumble in irritation and move to the edge of the backyard to start practicing. Shadow bind jutsu. I mutter as my shadow stretches to 6 feet and begins to spasm rapidly, causing me to lose control of it. Fun. Real fun. What followed was an entire evening where I could barely stretch the shadow for up to 4 meters, let alone 5, before it spasmed rapidly. One day later. Evening time. This is the place. I mumble in confusion as I stare at the map Eiichi handed out to me, a house encircled with a red marker in the Noro compound. Now you may be wondering as to the reason behind my alleged confusion. You see, today's Friday. And since Eiichi has gotten incredibly busy for reasons I have no business knowing about, our lessons have been reduced to once a week on Saturdays. Also, Uncle took the usual Thursdays and began teaching me and Shikamaru the clan secret jutsu. Anyway, the point is I have a supplementary lesson to compensate for the missing Thursday lesson I normally have with Eiichi. My teacher, Makoto, one of our 3 clan elders, is supposed to be in this house encircled in the red. Here's where my confusion comes into play. For someone allegedly responsible for the clan's finances, his house is surprisingly, with all due respect, middle class. I mean, isn't there a cliché here? You know, he who works at the place with the money has the money and whatnot. Hell, when I got to Eiichi, I had a tune-in to guide me there. Now, I had to find where my elusive new sensei's abode is. Map be damned. My past self would have thought I was getting kidnapped and this was a scheme. But well, Eiichi, my man, is trustworthy, so this entire monologue is kind of pointless. But then again, I wouldn't want to intrude if the senile old coot circled the wrong house. Ah, screw it. My heart raced as I pressed the doorbell, a mix of curiosity and slight apprehension building inside me. And as if someone had been waiting for me, I hear hurried footsteps and the door opens to reveal Dio. Just kidding, it's an old man, but not as old and wrinkly as Eiichi. The old man's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, a stark contrast to Eiichi's more reserved demeanor. Ah, you must be Akira. I've heard so much about you. Come in, come in. He gestured as he directed me in considerably more energetic than Eiichi. Maybe he was like that once in the past? Nah, no way. I followed him inside, to an interestingly decorated home. Deer antler collections on his walls, medicinal herbs growing on the window platforms, and family portraits. Surprisingly, normal? What's the eccentric twist, though? I narrow my eyes to try and find anything incriminating. Found it. I see a painting of a jester holding a kunai with a small text written below it, "Beware the Fool." Not the oddest shinobi-related artwork I've seen, but definitely up there. His voice breaks me out of my thoughts. Take a seat. I've already made some tea for you. All right, thanks. I nod dumbfounded, his energetic nature taking me out for a spin. I take a seat at the living room table, which he seemed to have organized especially for my arrival. With an open and empty notebook, I spy a title, Noro Akira Training Advice and Points of Interest. Is this dude really a Noro? Though I shouldn't be the one asking that now, should I? The energy coupled with taking this extremely seriously is making me woozy. He brings out 2 cups of tea that appear to be cold, as no steam is coming out of them. As if he prepared them a while ago. Isn't that cold? I asked with a tilted head. As I was mumbling out that question, he brought a finger above the surface of the tea and carefully heated it up with a perfectly sized and accurately controlled flame. No hand signs were needed to form it. Pure chakra control. What a proficient bastard. Just like that. The cup was set in front of me as he moved to sit down in front of me. First of all, it's a pleasure to meet you, Akira. He extended his hand for a handshake, a smile on his face. The pleasure is all mine, Makoto-sama. I reciprocate the gesture. No need for formality with me, boy. We're not in the council room. Call me Makoto. All right, Makoto. I added in caution. Splendid. He cheered. A bit of an oddball, so far, but there must be more to this guy. He wouldn't be an elder for nothing. Stop, trust Eiichi. This is only once a week. No need to overanalyze this guy. Eiichi wouldn't throw me out to the dogs. Hell, I should be more appreciative of this guy. After all, he's the one who supplied me with all those goodies. You know what? On second thought, he's okay. Makoto, I know this may seem abrupt, but I'd like to thank you for all the tools you've supplied for me. I smile in gratitude. Well, it was a bit costly, but you are a worthwhile investment, Akira. He admitted. Just when I deemed it reasonable to not suspect this guy and start on a good note. That sentence right there. That triggered a code red in my head. I steered absolutely clear of all the political headaches, trusting Uncle and consequently, Eiichi, to handle it. I have tried to ask them here and there about my status and if everything is under control. They are quite tight-lipped in that regard and only respond with that I should let the adults worry about it and that everything is fine, so I left it at that. But this guy, he's steering the conversation in that very direction, isn't he? Praising me and making me curious as to the reason why I'm a good investment. What's his game here? I do have an inkling as to what they are investing in me for, but I guess a confirmation could be nice. I'll comply for now. See what he's playing at. Investment. How? I asked with a fake smile, one I've been practicing for some time. At that, his smile transitioned into confusion. Have they not told you, Akira? As a wielder of a never-before-seen Kekkei Genkai, you are our clan's rising star. He remarked. I guess that much, but what else? Noticing my questioning look, his smile reformed, and he added, what else is there, my boy? You are a worthwhile investment from just that. He's giving me incomplete information on purpose. Enough. I came in here with an open mind. trusting Eiichi's judgment and my positive impressions of this guy's generosity. And mind games are what I met with? Cut to the chase, Makoto-sama. I bluntly respond with a threatening edge. His expression is surprised at my tone, only for him to proceed to scratch the back of his head. Ah, saw through it already? Impressive, Akira. Cut the theatrics, old man. What is it you want from me? Although I am grateful for your gifts and will repay you someday, I came here for training, not your games. I disregarded all formality as I demanded an answer. He remained unperturbed as he responded. Well, I wanted to offer my granddaughter to you as a marriage partner early. He admitted with a chuckle. All that? For this? What? I stuttered, taken aback by his sudden proposal. Why all the theatrics just to offer me your granddaughter? Why, yes. You are a smart boy. You should know that eventually you'll be forced into an arranged marriage. I'm here to offer you a partner early, so you don't go through all that hassle. What do you say? He offered like a snake oil salesman with a wry grin. An arranged marriage, as primitive as it is still very much a thing in the shinobi world, even in a place as modern as Konoha. I knew something along those lines would be the method to cement my lineage into the Noro and strengthen it. But wow, is the common trait of all these old men being manipulative and sly rascals? I bet that tea heating up part also has a part to play in his theater. Something along the lines of showing his proficiency and how good of a shinobi he is or used to be, worthy of teaching me. Gotta say, impressive. Nevertheless, the only response I have for such people is, I respectfully refuse. I emphasized my refusal in all honesty. Were he to ask me straight up, perhaps I would have accepted. Not really though, but the chances would have been more in his favor. Without losing a hint of composure, as if he had expected that response, he replies, a shame, shaking his head. Makoto-sama, I'd like to get to training. I believe we've gotten to know each other well enough. I remarked as I got off the chair, not even taking a sip of my tea. I'll endure this manipulative guy for now. If his training is worth the hassle, I'll stay. If not, I'll confront Eiichi on just what the point of all this was. No need to be so cold, Akira. I only did this much for our mutual benefit. He said in gloom. Attempting to manipulate me is to my benefit. How? I roll my eyes at my elder. At that, he smiles knowingly. Ah, but Akira, how would you learn to avoid falling without taking a fall? How would you learn to win without taking a loss? And how would you learn to avoid manipulation without getting manipulated? I see what he's getting at, but I would have managed to avoid this manipulation had I not. I raise an eyebrow at him. At that his smile widens considerably. I wouldn't be so certain. He answered enigmatically, what do you mean by that? I narrow my eyes at him. You haven't left yet. Have you not? If you keep pressing my buttons, old man, I'll be leaving right now. I growl at him. But leaving would be admitting defeat, wouldn't it? I take a secondary glance at his widening smile. And he knows it too. An oppressive silence envelops the room, suffocating me. Breaking the oppressive atmosphere, I ask, what will our training constitute? With an irritated expression. His smile becomes downright victorious. What do you think? The usual routine I do with Eiichi-sensei? I see nothing else you'd be teaching me. No, that would be the formal curriculum. But manipulation, finances and... In the blink of an eye, he appeared before I could react, his hand inches from my throat, killing intent directed at me on a level surpassed only by the Ninetales from way back then. My heart pounded like a drum, and a cold sweat ran down my spine as Makoto's eyes bore into mine, sending shivers of dread through me. At the close proximity of a life-ending threat, an overwhelming foe, intent on killing me, my mind went into overdrive, and time seemingly froze. Sinking into the shadows would take too long. I'd die before that. Rabbit escape. He'll kill me before they form. Divine dogs? Useless. Toad as well. The incantation for that could force him to back off. In essence, there was only one solution I managed to come up with, seconds before my death. I shakily and yet swiftly extended both my arms forward at a slight upward angle with my fists closed. With this trade dash, as soon as I started the incantation, I stopped just as quickly when the killing intent subsided and he began to talk. Assassination. Of course. Eiichi asked me to not concentrate on that area until you are at a suitable skill level. Which I agree with. Assassination requires a baseline of capabilities in order to be applicable and useful. Any less and you would get killed by failing to catch your enemy off guard or gauging his weaknesses incorrectly. So for now, my purpose in that regard is to gauge your progress and give light assistance were you to find a roadblock. He gave me a wry grin as he explained, his hand within life-ending distance. He backed off and I immediately dropped to my knees in relief and to catch my breath. Rapid breathing, an indication of hyperventilation. Shit. What the hell? Inhale. Exhale. Didn't take it too well, I see. A shame. Eiichi must have gone soft for you to react like that in this situation. He shook his head in disappointment. Never do that again. Damn, monster. My voice quivered as I shouted, a mix of anger and fear coursing through me. Ah, that wounds me. I was moments away from killing us both. I planned on relying on Mahoraga's incantation, causing him to back off due to him sensing the ominous chakra, much like it was in Megumi's case. Maybe make him hesitate, allowing me to dive into the shadows and escape. Maybe cause him to run away. But if he stayed the course, I'd have used it. Luckily he stopped before I could reveal the fact I had that dangerous card to play. It's just, never have I felt so scared, so quickly. The realization this man could end me at any moment, at any time. Thoroughly ingrained in my head. He could have foregone this method and simply stated he'd teach me assassination. No. This was a warning, a message, obedience, compliance. What is it? I've got to get away. Seeing my fearful expression, he said, I know what you may be thinking. You could run and tell on me to your dear old father. But, he's aware of the fact I'm training you. He'll either tell you to suck it up or quit. Are you a quitter, Akira? Taking note of my unchanged expression, he added, perhaps you fear I'll be ending your life and could at any moment. Calm down. Deep breaths. Oh, so that's it. Do take note, Akira, when you try to compose yourself when an enemy probes you. It may indicate that the very probing hit something sensitive. In any case, as you appear to be in a state of hysteria, your rational side is being inhibited and is focusing on possible threats to your life. Me. Take a moment to calm down, and you'll understand why there is no reason to fear me ending your life. If you cannot figure it out, run away. I'll allow you to do so. Is there a reason for him to kill me here? Inhale. Exhale. No, there isn't. All the reasons that could somehow lead him to kill me are too far-fetched and illogical. There would be ultimately no benefit for him in my death. Or anyone else for that matter, as far as I know. What a twisted teacher. Is his generosity a facade? Is he two-faced? What is he? A psychopath is what he is. 5 minutes of complete silence, as I barely compose myself, understanding the lack of reason for him to kill me. I raise my head to meet the eyes of my kind host. I see you've come to an understanding. He assessed. Pleased. I nodded, still uneasy but trying to regain my composure. Understanding is one way to put it, I replied, my voice tinged with skepticism. Well, did you understand how our lessons are going to go, specifically about assassination? He questioned, completely ignoring my sentence. Ugh. This insensitive, sadistic, cruel bastard. No. I was too busy having a heart attack because someone decided to scare the very marrow in my bones. I said in a deadpan. At that, he gained a sheepish expression. Ah, my bad. Perhaps I should have saved that for later. The number of expressions and masks this man can switch on command is absurd. Like, what is he? I wonder whether this experience would shape me into a better ninja or leave me more cynical. More cynical it is. I'll offer you a valuable piece of advice, Akira. Never antagonize nor irritate those who are considerably above you in strength or authority. Sarcasm and snark are poor defense mechanisms in the face of such threats. Even if, by hard cold pragmatism, they have no reason to react in a life-threatening manner. Human nature is unpredictable at times. He advised with a wide smile. Duly noted, I responded dryly, my eyes narrowed at him. Well, let's get back on track, he exclaimed, clapping his hands. Beware the fool, was it? Ha! After that, nothing of note occurred as he explained once again how the assassination part of my training was gonna work. We later on, with Eiichi's prior permission, went to his training ground to do the usual curriculum. The only difference is how I am treating this creature with absolutely zero respect, snarking at him at every opportunity. He said finances will come next lesson. However, I question how relevant it is for someone who's not interested in the slightest in politics or such an occupation. But free tips for better usage of my Rio are free tips, so I'll take them. Besides that, there's also manipulation. He gave me a first-hand experience, is what he told me ominously. Psychotic bastard. He's saying he'll be forcing me to play mind games with him every Friday. So much for getting along with this dude. I will never trust another man named Makoto in my life. Never. Or Eiichi for that matter. I'm punching Eiichi. I don't care. But yes, that's right. I'm coming back to him every Friday. Why? Say what you want about that sadistic scum. He's a good teacher. In contrast to Eiichi, he's allowed me to spar with him. It would have been a fantastic way to vent my frustrations, if I could hit him. Or if he held back on his punishments for my mistakes. The dude administers a counter whose power and severity are proportional to how large a mistake I made during the spar. Every single mistake gets punished. I came out pretty bruised out of that one today. It's a good thing I came out with no broken bones. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow manipulated me into wanting to come back and train under him. But what does he ultimately gain from it? Is his only motivation for all of this simply giving me the hand of his granddaughter in marriage? Is he merely that sadistic? He's got me stumped, I'll admit. In addition to the other minor issues of giving me trust issues, doubts, considerable psychological trauma, and a decent amount of physical trauma. But hey, all in the name of getting stronger, right? Right. Evening time. 1 year and 7 months following the entrance ceremony at the academy. Third-person POV. In a secluded section of the Noro forest, a group of genin were hard at work, using their earth-style jutsu to dig an unusually narrow tunnel. From time to time, their Jonin-sensei lent a hand. Hey, Aroka-sensei, how is it that an 8-year-old kid can just hire us to dig him a tunnel to play in? Grumbled the kunoichi of the group, who was the primary earth-shaping expert. Money, money, Aroka-sensei replied, his face displaying a look of seasoned wisdom as he blew a smoke ring from his cigarette. Huff, at least we're nearly done. Kentaro exclaimed as he reread the written specifications of the tunnel the kid wanted. Akira POV. Although this was a considerable blow to my current financial situation, this was hella worth the investment. And the missed outings to Ichiraku. I thought as I stood before the narrow and long tunnel, around 16 feet in diameter, 12 feet in height, and 250 feet in length. To construct the tunnel within the forest, I hired a genin team, as per the previous advice from Eiichi, to dig it, using the rabbit escape pit as the starting point. Digging into the hills would probably land me in heaps of trouble. Anyways, as you may or may not have guessed, new Shikigami time. Pretty early, right? But I've been feeling confident lately. Especially when I had just the most wonderful way of gauging how powerful this exact Shikigami was. Forcing Makoto into an exorcism ritual with me against New was a fantastic and extremely safe way of testing its capabilities. His reaction was hilarious. My punishment was not. Anywho, it's around the same strength as Nock or Mir, only bulkier and faster. Oh, and it can use lightning. Was my professional assessment. In an ideal environment for New, I can't really counter it besides hoping Jeff lands a tongue grab on it. Oh, but you see, I'd never fight it in an ideal environment. Truth be told, there are many ways for me to exorcise New. Direct battle without the squad is a definite no. I get ravaged by that thing. though I do believe I can hold out decently against it. Not that strong. Yet. So, I'd wanted to test my limits, so this proved an opportune moment. If you hadn't guessed, the poor owl is getting jumped by the Akira squad. The name change is still pending. Normally that would be a chakra issue, and it is actually, but not too big of an issue. In theory, they should be able to take care of New before I run out of juice. How can I sustain the entire squad manifested, you ask? It's been a while, so here goes. Akira status report. First, I've discovered the rough outline as to how the reduction in chakra for multiple manifested Shikigami works. A reduction in cost doesn't relate to how many Shikigami are currently manifested, unfortunately. But what does equate to a reduction in cost depends on the most expensive chakra-wise Shikigami currently manifested, and the reduction seems to be in proportion to the difference in costs between the manifested Shikigami and the most expensive one currently manifested. I'll provide an example. Let's say Nock and Mir are 100 chakra per minute to keep manifested. Jeff is 60 chakra per minute to keep manifested. Once summoned in tandem, Nock and Mir's cost, according to the drain I feel from them, is exactly the same as always. However, Jeff's is reduced to roughly 40 to 45 chakra per minute. Here's where it gets interesting. If I summon Whiskers and keep the whole rabbit horde manifested, it costs 300 chakra per minute, and then proceed to manifest Jeff. Whiskers are kept at a static 300 chakra per minute, while Jeff's initial 60 chakra per minute is now 33 to 35 chakra per minute. I've tried all combinations as well as everyone manifesting at the same time. In Nock and Mir's case, they are manifested alongside Whiskers. Whiskers' cost stays static. However, Nock and Mir's cost is reduced from 100 chakra per minute to 60. That's a damn 40% reduction right there. This is the case for Nock, Mir, and Jeff. When they are manifested alongside Whiskers, their cost reduction is calculated purely relative to Whiskers, the most expensive Shikigami currently manifested. A fascinating system. I wonder if this was the case for Megumi as well. I can only hope to imagine how rough it was when your cursed energy had no capacity for growth. Unlike chakra. Praise be to chakra. Anyways, as of this point, the amount of time I can keep them all manifested at once before succumbing to the cruel reality of chakra shortage is roughly 4 minutes and 46 seconds, give or take 10. Any more and I am missing precious chakra in case I need to escape. Or to keep myself, conscious. And after an initial unprompted evaluation of New, I believe it's more than enough considering I'm practically crippling it with a closed environment like this tunnel. Second, I've trained Shadow Bind Jutsu as well as Shadow Possession Jutsu, the latter only 2 weeks ago, to a functional combat level. Both are still a bit awkward in terms of speed and range in my case, but it is usable if I catch my opponent off guard, so yay? It's still a work in progress. But there are potential uses for it, especially with the Shikigami, so it's a worthwhile endeavor. Also, I'm going for my first mission with Eiichi next week. I'll be tagging along with him outside the village, and he's cleared his schedule months in advance for this particular outing. Uncle's permission is also oddly present. Is it ominous? Well, maybe. But it's also a chance to see the world beyond these familiar village walls, which, let's be honest, I've been cooped up in for far too long. However, there's this nagging thought in the back of my mind, like a stubborn pebble in my shoe. There's a pretty good chance that I might have to take someone's life out there. I mean, I've been preparing for it mentally, but there's a world of difference between being ready in your head and actually going through with it. Taking another person's life. Now, that's a hard pill to swallow. On to the more exciting stuff. Time to begin the exorcism ritual. Don't worry, I'm not stupid. Eiichi is somewhere nearby. He'd strangle me if he knew I'd done it without supervision. I most certainly can, but better safe than sorry. Okay, let's go. I enter the narrow tunnel and make my way through the musky and dirty-smelling tunnel, reaching the very end of it at a distance of 240 feet. Already can be seen at the edge of the dug tunnel, a bunch of grounding rods already carefully installed and shoved deep into the ground. I took out the last pieces of equipment I prepared for this battle. Insulating body armor and the last set of grounding rods. Unfortunately, I had to make a couple of runs back and forth to place these. There can be only so much I can carry before my juvenile spine is broken. Why no? I equipped the insulating body armor and began to place the last of the grounding rods. A few minutes pass and I'm done. Alright, that should be good. Time to enact the plan. I announce excitedly. My blood, already beginning to boil in excitement. Rabbit escape. I exclaim as I form the shadowgraphic rabbit. At my intent, liquid shadows quickly shape into a horde of rabbits that quickly fill up the tunnel behind me. Whiskers, get into position. I shout my command, already having proofed my Shikigami on our course of action. With that, the horde of rabbits began to huddle together behind me and the battleground of grounding rods, forming a thick wall of rabbits tens of feet in thickness, with holes in between to make sure I could breathe. Original Whiskers was commanded to hide behind that wall in case New somehow manages to pass through the rabbit wall. A few of the rabbits jumped onto my shoulders and some went into my sleeves. Toad I form the Toad shadowgraphic hand sign and Jeff forms out of Liquid Shadow's divine dogs. I quickly follow up with forming the shadowgraphic dog hand sign, forming Knock and Mir out of the shadows. A wicked grin is plastered on my face. It's so damned. I tighten my core and all my muscles, capable of springing into action at any moment. As I form the last shadowgraphic hand sign, New, I announce as my hands clap together in the shape of wings. Liquid Shadow moves to form a large owl-like creature with orange feathers and a white mask-like face, large wings, 2 sets of talons, and human-like teeth. Out of all the Shikigami I have met, this one is the most unnatural looking. But never mind that. Attack. I announce as Jeff, Knock, and Mir burst into action. New tried to fly, however, sadly for it, the tunnel was too short for it to be high enough to not be within striking distance. Knock leaped towards New, about to take a nibble out of its face. New swiftly dodged to the side, only to be swatted by Jeff's tongue, hitting the left wall of the tunnel, still airborne. Good. Now me. I roar, as I jump and mount Mir as he leaps towards New. New shakes off the hit quickly, and its wings begin to charge with electricity. All according to plan, New notices the nearest threat, which is me, mounted on top of Mir, shooting out a ray of lightning. However, it was utterly ineffective thanks to my insulated armor. The whiskers on my shoulders, unfortunately, were paralyzed. Noticing this ineffectiveness, New swiftly flies away from Mir's trajectory to the right. I leap off Mir towards New, managing to narrowly grab it by the wing with my right arm. Whiskers go. I yell out, and out of my sleeves come 3 whiskers I had as backup. They swiftly climbed New's wing and made their way to its face. New was flailing madly to shake me off, managing to drop me to the ground. I land softly on the ground with a tumble, only to be followed up with a hit once again by Jeff's tongue, only in the face, to distract it momentarily. The tongue strike was ineffective thanks to New's armored face. However, the 3 whiskers arrived at their intended target. Its unguarded eyes. 2 of the 3 whiskers bit down hard on New's eyes, a fountain of blood beginning to spray from its eyes. A roar comes out of New as it begins to fly madly and, in a panic, charges an incredible amount of electricity in its wings, even hitting the walls of the tunnel multiple times. Good. Next. Knock, Mir, and Jeff back off behind most of the grounding rods. I shout as I move alongside them, not completely confident the insulated armor could alone block the amount New is currently charging. New finally released a strong electric burst that proved utterly ineffective as the tens of grounding rods absorbed all of it. Only the 3 Whiskers clones got electrocuted and died. Okay, let's end it. I announce. With New now blinded, flying wildly, and colliding with the walls, it was now elementary to finish this. Around a minute left. I estimated my current chakra level. Jeff shot his tongue towards the flailing New, managing to wrap it around its wing, and beginning to pull hard. New retaliated and began to pull as well. As it is stronger than Jeff, it began to pull him towards it. However, that immobilization is all we need. The advantage of multiple individuals against one is evident in the result of this battle. At the considerably slower New, Knock and Mir leaped and each took a bite out of New's neck, causing it to let out a near-rupturing screech as blood gurgled from its mouth. I ran forward and leaped, reaching New not long after, and drove a kunai into where its heart should be, hearing the beating of its heart through enhanced chakra hearing. Blood bursts out of its feathery chest. Even with all that, the bulky, owl-like creature still had the vigor and continued to flail as I drove the kunai deeper in. Nock and Mia kept their jaws clenched tight on its neck. Still flying after all that? With just one wing flapping? I couldn't help but be awed at the durability and strength of this Shikigami. But even that was put to an end as it began to weaken considerably. To the point, Jeff began to win the tug of war and, splat, tore off the wing with how strong he began to pull. As if it was the last straw, New lost all its strength and died. There was a single moment of nervousness at the prospect of this ritual being invalidated thanks to my equipment. But that was for naught, as I felt a shadow reach me. And confirmation arrived. I have tamed New. Nock, Mia, and I fell to the ground, no longer being held up by New. I smiled at them. Thanks for the hard work, guys. I'll see you later. I waved them goodbye as I dismissed Nock, Mia, Jeff, and the Whiskers wall. This went swimmingly, really. I thought with a satisfied smirk I was skeptical whether the ritual would have been invalidated were I to use this insulating armor. That it'd count as external help. Apparently not. I wouldn't call this confirmation for my theory, but I do think this gives it some validation. My theory is that external help only counts when something other than me and my Shikigami either damages or weakens the exorcism ritual Shikigami. The insulation armor did neither of those. Sure, it made New's lightning strikes ineffective, but it did nothing to affect New itself. Or that could be completely and utterly wrong. Well, that's what I'm working with, but armor seems okay to use. If it were barbed armor, I wonder if it would work? Something to test. Satisfied, I leisurely walked out of the tunnel to be met with a stoic Eiichi. I assume you've succeeded. He let out a tired sigh. What do you think? I smirked at him. He raised his eyebrow as he shook his head in exasperation. Ha, well done. Have you found usage for any of your new techniques and methods in this fight? He praised as he followed up with a question. I shrugged helplessly. I designed the environment so the fight would go as easily as possible for me by summoning all my creatures at once. There was no usage for any wall walking there. Nor was there any usage for my anatomy knowledge. Biologically speaking, this wasn't a human. What I did make use of was the hearing enhancement technique to estimate where its heart was during the last part of the altercation, I added as an afterthought. HMPH, an unconventional usage of the technique, but admirable considering the differing biology. Once again, well done. He snorted as he praised once again. However, using all your creatures at once against it is not praiseworthy. That was not chakra efficient at all, Akira. He chastised me after praising me. Oh, ease off. I know, but I wanted to test my limits when going all out with them. And considering how secret my Kekkei Genkai is for now, I'd probably not have much live usage of it besides this and my training with you guys. I replied, annoyed. What about your assassination training? Rare will the occurrences be where you can actually apply those as well. Your Kekkei Genkai is not exclusive to this aforementioned issue. Eiichi probed, a knowing look on his face. My eyes narrowed at him as I replied, we're going on a mission next week. Need I say more on that front? A thin smile forms on his face, confirming my thoughts. I suppose we are, freaking called it.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.